Real show, here we go. Real show, here we go. You know that it's gotta be that time, so this is what we chant. What keeps on getting them all amped in advance? Come on. You and I rocking out with Iron Man, FE. You get the general's point of view on top of Roger's rants. We're never tapping out, we're putting the most minutes in. You already know what that's about, you know that winners win. Crush whatever's on task, check the podcast. It's the champ and the tramp, let the bomb blast.
All right, what's up, everybody? Let's keep it rolling. We got my man Hotep Jesus in the room. I found Hotep on Twitter, just from his commentary out there. He's a funny dude. Definitely like your perspective on things. I feel you align with our kind of what we align with in here.
Okay.
You were a sane voice in this craziness that we had, I think, the past couple years. And you've been on Gutfield. Were you on Fox? You were on Fox News too?
Yeah, Laura Ingraham.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've heard you on Rogan plenty of times too. That's probably the spot where I got you from.
Yeah.
But really, it was Twitter where I found you. I was following someone that tweeted a couple of your stuff, and then I found out you're from around the way, so it made me even check you out more. So
okay.
Good to have you on the couch. Yeah, we were just talking a bunch of junk now. What were you just saying?
We were diving into crypto at first, and then we were talking about concealed carry. I asked Hotep, does he plan on, he's born and raised here in Jersey. I'm like, you think you're going to die here? Like, you ride or die, you're always going to be a Jersey guy? He said Texas, and that seems to be the move for a lot of people. Florida or Texas, especially people that think like us, right? So
yeah, Florida. I'm a weird conspiracy theorist, like Nostradamus, and Nostradamus is like, yeah, California is gonna have some earthquakes, it's not gonna be here, and Florida is not gonna be here, and I'm like, well, Texas might be here.
Yeah, true. That is true.
Because you still gotta wash up through the Gulf, so it's still some work the winds.
I always say
like
Florida, at least the East Coast. West Coast a little different, but the East Coast of Florida is Jersey but hot to me. Everyone's fast paced, a lot of people, crowded. People with attitudes kind of like Jersey.
Right.
It's just Jersey but warm. And everyone's mad because they're sweating.
As far as natural disasters, though, you're right. You don't hear about much in Texas. What does Texas get? California has obviously
a tornado
horrible earthquakes.
Tornado.
Yeah, I guess
they got hurricanes.
hurricane.
Actually, you know what's was pretty? You ever hear Galveston, Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's like a seaside. It's kind of like a sea. It's like a
right on the
barrier island.
Yep.
I think. I think that place might be all right. I see they got some. I seen like I don't know, one of them HGTV shows or something, like Homes Abroad or something, or Homes on Vacation Homes. It's a
nice area.
Pretty cool place.
Well, when you move, man, if you need like a landscaper, lawn guy, pool boy, I'll come with you. You know what I mean? I'll take care of you. I know you're doing big things over there.
I was gonna just try and slide in over there in Austin and get next to my boys Alex and Joe. And build with them, right?
Alex
you were
Jones
on Alex Jones. That's right. I got to ask you about that, bro. I mean, listen, I'm sometimes scared to say like I'm a fan or I listen to him because you just take so much heat because he can be out there. But what was that experience like to be with him in person? I feel like he must have toned it down a little bit since this big lawsuit. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, when we were hanging out, I had a really great time with Alex. He took really great care of me while I was there in Texas. But I don't know, it's weird because, when you do a broadcast with somebody, like 5 or 6 times, you kind of feel like you know him because, you've spoken to him so many times. And I've watched Alex Jones since I was in my 20s. So, when I met him, it's just like Alex is who you see. Like, he's wild and crazy. Right. He's cracking jokes. He's having fun. He's not serious. He's a serious individual, but he has fun. He's it was there with Michael Malice and Blair White was sitting there, and he's like, "Hey, Hotep, you meet my girlfriend?" And he points to Blair White and shit. So I'm like cracking up, right?
Do you know? Who
no, I don't.
That's why.
No clue.
Blair,
she's a trans.
Okay.
But she's like, if you don't, she's kind of, she's not bad looking, right?
You might, Frankie. You might. If the room was dark enough, you might do it.
Yo, I'm just saying, if you didn't know,
if you didn't know, somebody had to tap you on the shoulder, bro, hold up.
You might have looked at it in the shower, is what you're saying. You might have Googled it in the shower, maybe. I feel you. You don't have to say it out loud.
You never heard this?
I'm going to look it up now. I might check it out in the shower later.
Yeah.
No, No, she looks great. You know,
Yeah.
I've said it in the past. Like, trans women look better than women.
Yeah, right.
You know?
They got to try harder. You know?
They got to try harder. Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at like even like all the tutorials for makeup, it's men doing the tutorials.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so
They got better
Fashion.
They got better eyelashes, right?
Yeah.
Men do. They say.
at least that's what they say. Anyway, next subject.
Yeah, so the experience and all. I mean, you're a relatable guy. Like the guy.
Yeah, he was fucking cool as shit,
Yeah.
man.
He seems fun. Like I heard him on, on Rogan's most times. Probably, I've watched some of his episodes too. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's a wild man. The shit he says is crazy. But bro, with the shit he says, a lot of it.
I was just gonna
comes
say
to light.
they
A lot of it.
highlight the craziest stuff he says, right? Like the frogs are turning gay and all. They highlight that, but they just dismiss everything else he says. You know,
But
it's
that
like,
but the whole frog thing was from a real scientific.
yeah, I know,
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You know, and I think
I
it's
think
the
it's the
drug.
intergalactic demons.
I mean, he's not as out there as like David Icke. Like David Icke is way out there, and he's talking about like reptilians.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
That's our boy.
yeah.
That's our boy Jesse.
Yeah,
Our boy Jesse's crazy.
Cool.
He's a good friend of ours. He's been on a podcast a bunch. He's a former military dude.
Yeah.
He like every conspiracy theory, he's all in on it. You know. So,
Yeah. He's like, so dudes relate to him because he served our country. He was 101st Airborne. He's fully disabled vet. Chicks love him because he's a good-looking dude. So he doesn't take a lot of flack, but he says the most outlandish shit you can possibly imagine. He's basically Alex Jones in a little compact version. But yeah,
You need
great
that.
great dude.
You need that. You need somebody that's going to stretch the borders of your thinking.
100%.
You know, because if you're too constrained, there's not enough room for questioning like the last 2 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So you need somebody that's going to stretch all the way out there and say, you know, there's people on the moon. That's my thing, right? There's people on the moon. I'm going to stand on that theory, and you know that's what I believe to be true because we never go back, and every time we try, we fail. I think the moon people are like pew pew pew.
Really?
Yeah.
So you believe we've been there once? You don't
Well-
think that was staged?
Well, here's the thing. Who is it? George Lucas, I think his name is, that does Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple of different things happening with George Lucas. Number one, he's got these things called stormtroopers, right? Well, that was the same exact name that was given to Hitler's crew of soldiers. They were called stormtroopers, right? Then you got these things called Jedi. Well, the Jedi comes from the Jed Pillar or folklore of ancient Egypt, the magician Jedi, except it's got a D in front. Then you got this thing called the Death Star. And the Death Star looked like the moon. So I'm like, there's people on the moon. George Lucas knows something. I don't know.
You think? I mean, listen, man. I've heard crazier theories.
I feel like sometimes you can see the moon. Like you think you see people like building stuff up there.
Absolutely.
It's just when you're high, Frankie.
It's quite a bit. Bro, tonight's gonna be like the one of the best nights for meteor showers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way.
That you can see with the eye. You don't need like that.
Yeah, they said like
Telescope
40
or-
in an hour.
Really?
Probably. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I spoke to Seb Gorka about Trump. You know, Seb Gorka is close to Trump. And I asked him, can you ask Trump about the aliens, man? Let me know what's up, man. Is it, are they real? Where they at?
I gotta imagine when you're president, they first day they show you, all right, this is all the secrets we know.
Right. Here go the fine aliens. Here go the ugly aliens.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure the
yeah.
aliens probably are beautiful.
Yeah.
They probably change anything they want to be.
Nice blue bitch.
Like Avatar.
Like,
Yeah.
I think the aliens in the water though. Like
I do too. I'm with you on that. I'm with you. I'm
Like-
with you.
like, I'm
We've
not-
explored
yeah.
like less than 1% of the oceans,
Right.
and that's right here.
Yeah.
That's not millions of miles away. We've explored like less than 1% of it, or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on that.
Yeah.
Well, like the whole story in Atlantis too. Like, I got like, what if there was an Atlantis, right? It was this, and then we split from them, and they stayed underwater, and we stayed here, and they just advanced so much more than our race did.
Very possible.
You know?
And then there's Lemuria and all of that story. Who knows? But yeah, I think we always get diversions, right? Like the mainstream media or the powers that be, they like to divert. So when they say look up, you probably need to be looking down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I go, to Miami or whatever, like I was in Cali recently, and I'm looking out in the ocean. I'm looking out in the ocean like I'm just waiting for them to just pop out the water and go in the sky. I'm not looking up there. You know what I mean?
That is true.
Well, but they've been saying it, right? Pilots are saying now they've been seeing these aircrafts come from the water, right?
Really?
Or dive right into the water.
Oh, dive into the water?
Yeah, yeah.
See?
Well, there's been
And they said they've even seen like underwater like submarines or vehicles going like crazy knots, pretty much unheard of like speeds underwater. So could be.
I can see that, man.
There's been sightings though. They've been talking about that for literally decades and decades. But doesn't I mean, my first conversation or hearing about it has always been Area 51. That's kind of like where it was.
Right.
Other than being a little kid looking at the tabloids, standing at the shopping center with my mother and seeing like this farmer was abducted by aliens and returned a week later after being anally probed, on Enquirer or whatever. You would see it there. But Area 51 was talked about a lot. Why don't you hear much about that anymore?
That's a good question. Last time we heard about Area 51, people were trying to storm it. Remember the activism?
Yeah.
I mean, they're guarding something there.
Are they still?
Yeah.
But what about Bob Lazar? Didn't you hear about that?
No.
You see that? Bob Lazar, he was on Rogan's a bunch. Like, supposedly he worked at Area 51 or one of the subsidiaries of Area 51 and he said that he's worked on spaceships. And they have spaceships that are not ours, like someone else's. And he's saying that they found them actually in an archaeological dig. So they're from much older than people.
I believe that.
That's a believable story, right?
That.
So why do they feel like we can't handle the truth? Why is it? I mean, why the big secrecy?
What scares me is now they're starting to say it. Like you said, when they say look up, look down.
Right.
Now they're starting to say, oh yeah, there's stuff out there.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, wait a minute, maybe there's not. That makes me think there's not now.
Right, yeah. Maybe they left.
Yeah, maybe they left us, yeah. Or they took over and they're running this shit.
Right, yeah. That's the only explanation I would have for why our Earth is the way it is. It's run by demons.
Yeah.
From another planet, yeah. I don't think people can handle it, though. But then, do you ever see that movie,
But I mean, how so? Like, is it going to cause mass hysteria if we knew aliens existed?
Yeah.
How so? If we were attacked, that's one thing. But if they just existed and we found evidence of it, that's a very different thing.
I think it's the unpredictability of the markets. What people might do with their money, how people might spend, those trends would change.
That's a good point of view there.
You'd probably have a run on ammo.
Yep.
You'd have a run on supermarkets. Generators would go through the roof. You probably couldn't. People would probably pull out of the stock market.
Right.
I'd
buy mad guns. More guns.
Yeah. I always tell people that's the best investment though. Like as far as like assets are concerned, people are like, oh, go get gold, and I'm like, I think ammo is the way to go.
Ammo. Yeah.
That stuff always goes up in price. Weapons as well. But the thing is, like, so for example, like cryptocurrency, you always hear people say, I'm gonna buy gold and I'm gonna buy silver, and I don't believe in cryptocurrency because they're doomsday preppers and what's gonna happen when they shut down the grid. And I'm like, what's your gold gonna do for you?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when you shut down the grid.
When you shut down the grid, what's your
right.
silver?
Right.
The only thing that's gonna do anything for you is how much food you got, how well can you keep it, and where's your guns? Yeah. Right?
100%.
That's the only thing that's going to matter. So I always look at property and guns and ammo as the best assets to stand the test of time. Specifically rifles.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it the end game? And they talk about, we were just talking about Jesse. He brings up this great reset all the time. And for a long time, I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But I think he's talking about it in a little different aspect, but I mean, the Great Reset, isn't that the whole Klaus Schwab? Klaus Schwab, there we go, couldn't say it. And, there's a Great Reset that they talk about, which is sort of one world, right? One world banking, and it would be in that crypto style, right? I mean, they could literally shut you down by pressing one button and kill. You would have no income, right?
It's right in the paper. If you read the World Economic Forum issuance of that, it's right there in the paper. They don't say it; they allude to it. They say, as far as currencies are concerned, you got the dollar and you got the, the Chinese money, and then they're like, so the only other thing is possibly crypto. And they kind of like act like it's not a thing,
Yeah.
but
Right.
they say it's a thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, the CBDC is definitely coming. You got it in several different nations right now, right? You got it in Nigeria, India, Jamaica, and the 8 Eastern.
And now that's run by their government. They run it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got it in the 8 Eastern Caribbean islands, right? But the funny thing is, in Nigeria, when they first installed it, they went to the public, said, hey, I got this crypto. And the public, like, you just told us Bitcoin and crypto was bad. Now you want us to use the crypto, so not using it. So last week, a story was published that said they're limiting cash withdrawals to like $45 a day, 200 something a week. So they're trying to force people in there by constraining the physical to fiat and move people towards the CBDC. We know Biden, he issued 2 edicts, basically. I think one in March, one in August or September, issuing guidance on the CBDC. We got the 12-week pilot program out of SETL, running the regulated liability network with the partition operators, partition owners, basically operating as nodes. And, each node's got to approve a transaction before it reaches destination, which isn't too much different from the traditional financial institutions of today. But that's Wachovia, other commercial banks. But that's like a 12-week pilot program. I want to say that's probably started about 4 weeks ago. So
Here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's with the New York Fed. Yeah, that's the New York Fed.
So how do they do it? How do they just give people some digital currency? But are people taking it?
Well,
Accepting it as tender?
Well, this is a pilot program, so they're probably issuing it to
Government assistance?
beta testers, I guess you could say. And they're probably more like financial institutions. So, like I said, Wachovia is participating in that. And they probably just have mock transactions. So not probably real transactions, probably mock transactions just to see whatever, right? Test whatever it is they're trying to test. The thing is with the CBDC is I've stepped away from trying to tell people the dangers of it because sky's the limit. Like I really want other people to try and figure out what could they do with this. Before I was telling people like, for example, they'll say you can't buy Red Bull with those credits, right? However, you can kind of do that now with the traditional system. If you were trying to use Visa or something like that, they can still restrict it depending on who the merchant is, right? But there's also other features like burning the crypto right out of your wallet. And they can do that now technically, but you're going to go through court litigation, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I think that the way it's going to roll out, it's going to first roll out with unemployment and disability.
So they'll pay you through that.
Yeah.
What about like government assistance, which used to be food stamps, now is EBT? Won't it go to that? I mean, it only makes sense, right?
Yeah, and that's the other one. That's the third government assistance, right? And then after that, I assume
that's just
taxes.
how they do it. It's always effective poor people first. Like,
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, it's a test market, man.
Yeah.
And it's right in the Biden paper too, where they talk about poor people,
Right.
underserved communities, or however they term it. But yeah, it's right in there, and they said they're basically targeting underserved communities with this thing, and they're gonna say, oh, this is great for everybody. But I think the big thing that people have paid attention to is KYC. It's different from traditional crypto. Traditional crypto is not KYC. Basically know your customer, basically doxing, having full documentation on who's using this stuff, right? So this is Big Brother expanded at a transactional level. So yeah, whenever you track, you run a transaction, it's going to be all CBDC. And yes, technically, if you use Visa, they still track it. But we still have like the paper fiat, or we can use cryptocurrency, right? So it's not crypto in the sense of how we believe it, being a freedom mechanism. It's just crypto because
It's just digital.
It's using cryptocgraphic technology.
That's what they call it, crypto.
Yeah.
Get away with calling it crypto.
Yeah, I was using the SHA-256 algorithm to encrypt the. It only goes one way. It doesn't go both ways.
How far in the future do you think until cash is no longer accepted anywhere? Like,
Damn. Less than 10 years.
really? That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
But like, so do you think it'll be do you think if they start this government crypto,
Yeah.
will they get rid of all the other cryptos? They're gonna have to do that, right? Would you imagine?
No, I don't think they'll. Well, first of all, they can't.
They can't, right? Yeah.
No, they can regulate, right? But
Could they not, like, say, like, I have Bitcoin? Could they just say, hey, we're not taking Bitcoin at all?
well, yeah, anybody can say they're not going to accept Bitcoin. But the funny thing with Bitcoin is, my take on it is pretty controversial. I'm taught by Cyprian. He runs Bitcoin Mystery School, and the guys who commit some of the highest amounts of code to Bitcoin are working with the Boston Fed on Project Hamilton, Bitcoin's evil brother. So the establishment is in Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Tor browser, I believe Tor browser was created by the CIA, if I'm not mistaken, or the technology used in the Tor browser. So they create some of these things so they can use it too, right? So I don't think they'll fade. I don't think they'll get rid of crypto, because the bad guys in the establishment need some way to hide their dealings too, and you can't do that through the CBDC.
Yeah.
So they'll keep those channels open. You know what I mean? But either way, you can't stop crypto. We'll just VPN and still transact, right? So you got like certain coins you can't get access to because you're in the United States, but if you VPN, you can get you can access decentralized exchanges and use it that way. And so I can mock that I'm in Russia or something like that to access decentralized exchanges through a VPN. So they can't stop it. They can regulate it, but
I think I'd consider myself old school. It's scary because it's a lot of knowledge, and you have to educate yourself. And then things happen like this young kid, what's his name, that just got busted, and
Sam Bankman.
He just got arrested right in the Bahamas. I mean, and stuff like that happens. You're like,
people.
You
see all that though? He got arrested because he was going to go talk.
He was going to talk tomorrow.
Right.
No, today.
Right, but he talked to who? Talked to
Congress.
Yeah. So they don't want him speaking. That's why they arrested him.
They snatched him up quick.
Yeah.
See,
you ain't talking to nobody.
Yeah.
But people get scared. Stuff like that happens, and people are like, I'm losing my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and now that's the trick, right? So they don't have to ban crypto. All they got to do is make people afraid of it, and then they'll stay away from it. And that's their play. Less than 1% of 1% of the population is actually in crypto.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very small amount that's actually in crypto. And an even smaller amount that's in crypto at the next level of being a custodian of your own coin, right? It's one thing to say I have Coinbase on my app and my money's in Coinbase.
Having a ledger though.
But having a ledger is another level. Exactly. It's very few people that's doing it at that level, right? It's very few people that are doing it anonymously. Most people are doing it KYC, so the numbers drop even more when you look at that. But they don't have to ban it. They're just gonna make you afraid of it, and that's what the conspiracy theorists are saying, is that Sam Bankman-Fried was a fall guy to make people afraid of getting into crypto. But the funny thing is, Sam Bankman-Fried had nothing to do with crypto. Okay, so FTX was a cryptocurrency exchange. Okay, cool. But where was the fraud? The fraud was what he was doing is exactly what traditional banking does. They leverage your capital. Your bank does not have all the cash that they say they have, right?
If you don't believe it, just go try to take a big transaction out. They never have it, ever.
They don't have
If you try to take 10 grand out from your local bank, they probably wouldn't even have that.
You're going to have to fill out some paperwork and wait
crazy.
3 hours and get authorization and all this nutball stuff, right? So, when you look at what he's doing is, taking deposits, leveraging deposits to borrow against and then lend that out, et cetera. So all kinds of funny things he's doing through Alameda. That's what traditional banks do. It's just that traditional banks have the government behind them to make sure you stay in line and you can't do a run. With his exchange, people were doing runs on it. There's no barrier there. But also what he was doing was he wasn't even actually purchasing crypto. People, you bought Bitcoin, your account said you bought Bitcoin, but he wasn't actually going to, clear those deposits, right? So let's say they take in $10,000, or let's say that, they taken $1 million worth of dollars to purchase Bitcoin a day. They might not purchase the Bitcoin right away. They might settle the account that night, every 2 days. You don't know how often some of these institutions settle. he wasn't settling at all. It just said it on your screen. So when he said people had, 10 million worth of Bitcoin, they might have had a fraction of that Bitcoin. They weren't actually purchasing your Bitcoin right away, right? So there was no reserves. There was no accountability at all. So as I said, when you were dealing with FTX, you weren't even dealing with crypto, because if you were dealing with crypto, you'd have bought your crypto and you got it off the exchange into your wallet, paper wallet, ledger, whatever. But that his scam had everything to do with like how traditional banking is set up, and he was fully regulated, fully compliant, FinCEN, all of those guys. And he still did dirt, right? So, like, what does that say about regulation when, you got the guy with the highest amount of regulation? And then you look at how he raised the capital, right? Like, the fact that he had access to BlackRock. Like, can you and I, like, go and, hey, BlackRock, I need some money for you. It's not going to happen.
And then he took so you're right, he was taking that money. He didn't buy Bitcoin. He just gave it to the Democratic Party, right?
And then he gave, So then the funny thing is, you got to look at his mom. Like, everybody's looking at him, but you got to look at his mom.
Mom's an attorney, right?
Nah, his dad's the attorney. His mom might be an attorney.
I thought they were both attorneys in a college. They taught law at a college, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I know his dad is Stanford Law.
Yeah.
His brother's an epidemiologist. His aunt is something else too. But the mom, what she was doing was she set up a statistical model, and what she was doing was actually really genius. So yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried was pulling in money, and then they were dumping that to the Democratic Party. Yes, this is true. However, yes, please. However, what she understood was, in politics, you try to match dollar for dollar for your opponent, right? So if your opponents are, dumping money into a particular region or state, you try to match that with your guys. So what she was doing was she was advising them to wait until the fall, or sometimes dump on the same day. I think this was on Vox, Vox.com, I believe this story was. And she had a statistical model, because usually what they do is they try to go after the swing states. But she was like, nah, that's like outdated. Like, I'm going to plug this stuff into the computer, and the computer's going to tell us where it makes sense to put the money. So the money would come in the fall all on one day sometimes, so that Republicans didn't have a chance to counteract that. So while everybody is out here thinking that ballot harvesting is the thing that swung these elections, and I'm not going to deny that ballot harvesting wasn't happening, because we know it's happening. However, the reason why that race was so close, I believe, is because of Barbara's statistical model. And that's something a lot of people aren't talking about, but it's published. Everybody knows about, well, like I said, it's on Vox.com.
That money's coming in right before an election.
Right before the election. Yeah. So you don't even have time to counteract that. You know what I mean? So you're looking and it's like, wait, we knew everybody was going to vote red, right? Because the economy. And,
that red wave didn't really happen. It really did not happen, yeah.
So if you factor in Sam, the amount of money he brought in, plus his mom's statistical model, you start to see, and I really want political Twitter to jump in on this, because conservatives aren't talking about her statistical model. They're not talking about like the math work that she put in to make this happen, to make that win happen, these wins. And I think if people, talked about that, maybe the Republicans could come up, get some math geeks together and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For everything you can say about that side of the aisle, they are smart. You know what I mean? They're very calculated. Now, does he get Epsteined?
Yes.
He does.
Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried didn't kill himself.
Yeah. All right. You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
How about all these crypto guys, taking it, getting taken, dying. One guy died in his sleep. Another guy died in a car accident or something.
Yep.
Yeah, people have been asking me, like, what's the deal with that? A couple of possible theories. One, they torture them and take their money, right? Because with crypto, you got to have your private keys, right? It's like having your PIN. Or, like, the one dude was tweeting out stuff
crazy
about
shit, right?
He was like, like there's a pedo ring going on and shit like that.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the type of information where they, thing where they had information and they're like, yo, we gotta eliminate this guy before or neutralize this guy before the information gets out. Could be that type of thing, whistleblower type neutralization. I don't know. When I see stuff like that, I know people are talking about, but I try not to get too close because the closer you get,
I'm scared to even talk about it. There seems to be a direct correlation between pedophilia and the elites. There's some undeniable connection there, and it's scary to even talk about because my car will probably blow up on the way home. But
well, I think the I was having a conversation this weekend, and what we came to the conclusion is because they don't see us as human, therefore they don't see age. You know what I mean? So young is like, I guess, open to them. They're sick though. You know what I mean? These people are like Satan and sick people. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird.
Well, going back to that, going back to the Epstein case, I believe that is the only case in history, especially on that scale, where no co-conspirator was named. Not one. I mean, how the fuck is that fucking possible? I know. These people are not only are they criminals, they're the most despicable type of humans and criminals. Nobody's named. It's not allowed. They put the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing on TV, but you can't watch this.
That's another. Hey, look at this. That's another. Hey, look here.
It's insanity. They're playing us like pawns, man. It's crazy.
What did he go down for?
Epstein?
Yeah, like he was selling people, right?
Yeah, well, so but he'd already been convicted, prior, and he was doing it again. You know what I mean? And the first time he really got off easy, like really easy. He was facing major, serious charges. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, it's rumored there was some. I don't even know if it's rumored. I don't want to say something that's not true, but I think there was some big payoffs there that happened, and he ended up getting one charge, I believe, for prostitution was the charge. So it was and he was pictured with a lot of celebrities after that charge. You know what I mean?
But where's the client list?
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. The co-conspirators.
I saw people like, Chris Tucker and Jay-Z and Beyonce. Yeah. I'm like, yo, that's the distraction.
Yeah.
That's low hanging fruit.
Right. So let's say it wasn't any of those, right? Because of exactly what you're saying. There were people. There were definitely people. Yeah. Where's the list? Why is it hidden? Why?
And then why do we get Jay-Z and Beyonce names? Right. Like, they ain't got nothing to do with it.
And they really think that people are just going to accept that the cameras just happened to be out the night that he was, hung himself. Like the cameras just that night.
Come on.
Happened. It's just, come on, bro. Come on.
I watched enough El Chapo documentaries to know what happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
But even on Twitter, right? Aren't they saying that like now these Twitter files are coming out? Like they literally just disregarded any any kind of restriction on child sexualization.
Right. And they were saying there were employees with like fake profiles there, you know what I mean? Like for just distraction and but those people should face charges. When I was a kid, and maybe it's where I grew up, right? Like I grew up in a little tiny town in Maine, and you would hear, maybe your mom and dad would say, stay away from creepy Uncle Joe, you know what I mean? But that's all you would hear. You didn't hear this shit. Like the older I got, maybe it's because I'm a parent now too, like this is so prevalent now. It's like talked about everywhere I go. And it's always, like I said, it always seems to be among like elites, and there never seems to be like an end story to it. Like nobody gets charged, nobody gets like, so why is it talked about so much and nothing happens? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's crazy. And the Epstein thing is just the most perfect example of it. Yeah. Not one co-conspirator was named. Not one.
Yeah, that's kind
fucking insanity.
Yeah. Hey, it's power, man. You got that much power, you're above the law. I wrote a book, I published a report on central banking. And when you see the amount of power that a banker has, a lot of this stuff just starts to make sense. When you go back and you look at, some of the people like, Lopez funding, different crowns of Portugal, Spain, England, Scotland, Austria, all these different kings and queens. They all had a money god. Most of them were like financially illiterate. And even illiterate too. So there was always like a money guy in there who was basically like, paying for wars or, handling the books, you know what I mean? That type of situation. And those guys usually lived above the law. And so when you start seeing like, okay, if you control the money, then you're above the law, right? Like even SBF, like he should have been arrested from day one. He just got arrested now. Why? Because he's got a court date today. Like who arrests somebody a day before? The day before, in the Bahamas.
Such suspect stuff.
And so much suspect and shady stuff goes on, and nothing ever comes to light of it. Right. Nothing. Yeah. It's like why? It's almost like why even care? Why even fucking fight? You know what I mean? But you got it. I'm not saying I'm gonna give up. But
like when they really want to get somebody, right? Like they eventually really want to get El Chapo. Well, they extradited him. They got him here into an American prison. right? They weren't dealing with the whole Mexican thing. But the fact that they got SBF in a Bahamas prison,
right.
it's just like,
come on.
Hold on, no, get him to the U.S.
Right.
ASAP. You know what I mean? I don't want him out there. I don't know what they're. Apparently, they have like, you know, it's pretty bad in comparison. But I don't know what their security's like. You know, it's an island. Maybe somebody comes up with a boat. Next thing you know, he's out of it.
Yeah.
He got a lookalike double. You know, who knows, man? I don't know.
The power structure, just they play by a different set of rules and are never held accountable. I mean, you can name it in 100. Nancy Pelosi, you know, what does she make a year? 140,000 a year or something. Her net worth is what, like 25 million or something. Owns house. Like, how is that fucking possible?
S&P?
How the fuck is that possible?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, man. If that was you, you'd be in prison. If that was me, I'd be in prison. Her, not even question. You know what I mean? It's insanity. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah, I always tell people, man, like, yo, if you really want to just like start grifting off the public, become a politician.
Yeah, 100%, man.
It's a huge grift. I mean, this setup is weird, right? It's like you get to live off of your campaign donations in a sort of way, right? Because if they send you campaign donations, you can technically, legally spend that on a house and run your operations out of a house, but you live in a house. And it could be a really nice house. And it could be a 10-bedroom house because, well, you need your employees to be there, you need them to be close, right? And then you can spend it on travel, food, etc. So you can like live the life off of straight campaign donations, right? So, and then you always look at people like, for example, the Obamas. They go in, they have a certain net worth. When they came out, their net worth exploded. You look at AOC, she was worth like, I don't know what,
She was a bartender. Come on.
She was worth like 2 brown paper bags.
Yeah.
And then now she's worth like, I don't know, 9 million or something like that.
Insanity.
Yeah. So politics is a huge grift. I think that we need to take a look at politics and somehow take the money out of it. You know, I think you know, to win a race, you should probably go on the octagon, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How many people gonna run in? You might get your ass beat.
Right.
We were talking, but we had Greg Anderson on. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. Great guy. He's a true patriot, but he was one of the few that were, you know, he was a police officer and he stood up during COVID and he did the right thing and spoke out against, you know, all these false arrests and all this thing, and he got fired for it, right? So anyway, we had him on, and shit, I lost my train of thought now. What was I going to say?
We were talking about the politicians and the money. And
he was saying, or we were talking about that. Isn't it crazy that essentially just in our country alone, roughly 350 million people in the country, right? We're run by roughly 1,500 people run us. That's insane.
How many?
I don't know. In politics,
No,
roughly.
what did he say?
He said something like 1,500 people, I think, like in politics, run 350
Probably less than
million.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Something
that
like
sounds
that.
about right.
You know, when these people
In politics.
in
Yeah.
politics, that's what I'm
House
saying.
Representative, Senates,
Right.
Yeah.
President's
yeah.
cabinet,
Right.
all that.
Yeah.
It's
that sounds about
insanity,
right.
you know?
If you consider all like the different assistants, different positions. Yeah. And then there's just probably like maybe 300 that run them.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Hundreds, thousand, whatever. A very low number.
Small amount
Yeah.
for
At what point does it topple? What point do people
It doesn't.
say, you don't think it ever does?
It doesn't.
Really?
It just transfers.
yeah.
It just transfers. I mean, show me a time in history where there wasn't an empire,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Oh, that's been toppled? Haven't? I mean,
But
it transfers. though.
transfers, yeah.
oh, right.
Yeah, this one
It may
fell,
topple.
but
I see.
The
Yeah,
next
yeah,
one comes
right.
in, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And now you got a new master. That's why sometimes people talk about like the whole like anti-Semitic thing right now, right? People say, "Oh, Jews run the world," whatever. Like, I don't care. But let's say they do. Like, that's really like variable X, right? Like, somebody's got to run this shit, right?
Yeah,
So somebody's gonna run it. You know what I mean? When it was Rome, Romans ran it. When you know, when Ottoman Empire came in and they ran a certain portion of Turkey and that whole region, they ran it, right?
Yeah.
Until they lost. Like, there's always going to be some empire in charge. You know, I look up to the first Caesar. I love his story, right? Where his family's nobility and for whatever reason, they fall out of that high class. So he has to start over from the bottom. And he starts in the military. Bunch of battles, bunch of wins, works his way up, becomes general. Next thing you know, first emperor of Rome. Like, that is, to me, how people need to look at their current society, right? There's a game being played. Either you're going to not play the game, or you're gonna play the game. But trying to come in, imagine everybody's playing, I don't know, Scrabble or Monopoly, and you come in and you just smack the board. What are they gonna do? They're gonna kick your ass. You just messed the game up, right? And they're gonna set the board back up. And they're going to continue playing.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't change anything. You just delayed it, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is, either you play the game or you not. You know?
Is that true? Is that a true story about Caesar, first Caesar?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's the one that E2 Brutus got killed by his people, or no?
I believe so.
Et tu, Brute?
That's true, right?
Yeah, Julius Caesar.
Julius,
Caesar's
yeah.
one,
Augustus was the other second one.
Right, Augustus was the second one. Yeah.
Look at you, fucking historian over there.
Yeah.
Nazi.
That's how we got July and August in our calendar.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, I look at the game and I respect it. This game has been here roughly 300 to 400 years. When you factor in John Law and central banking, that's where I start the game at. Like, where's the first central bank, right? So I'm starting the game with the first central bank. And
where was that? Was it in England?
London, yeah, England. Well, the first central bank, technically, it was in the UK. Was it Sweden? It was either Sweden or Switzerland. I always get those mixed up, the SWs. But they had a really intelligent form of central banking. John Law took it and he started like fractional reserve banking to like just egregious levels to where he got ran out of the country, almost got murdered. And then the Rothschilds set up, you know, the five sons, they divided up and then they did their thing. But, you know, some people, they look at the Rothschilds and they're like evil people. And I'm like, well, I kind of wish my great was brave enough to conquer the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, it's just weird. It's like, on one hand, people say, oh, Alexander the Great. And I'm like, what's the difference between him and a Rothschild? He just picked up a sword and did it.
Yeah.
They picked up the dollar and did it, right? They just picked up currency. So outside of like the whole weirdo pedo and like drinking blood, like I'm not cool with that. I really don't like how some of the things are happening in impoverished nations, South America, Africa, Asia. I'm not a fan of slave labor, sweatshops. I'm really not a fan of that. I'm really not a fan of people pushing climate change, electric vehicles. And it's like, do you realize that the materials you need to make this electrical vehicle
worse.
are worse
by a lot?
Yeah. And like some kid in Africa is gonna have to pick that out of the ground.
Right.
Yeah, he's gonna have to mine that. Like you don't care about people, right? Like, it's weird. Like, I don't know.
It's how they market it. It's how they push it, though. They market it to people, commercials, however, and they make people think that that's better for the environment, and they're doing a good thing by buying one. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. And even, you know, Biden, he gave the tax cuts, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It's really weird. But, so yeah, you know, when I look at that stuff, I, you know, outside of those parts of our economic system, outside of the communist parts of our economic system, I enjoy capitalism.
Same.
I enjoy seeing people win. You know, if your great tricked the king into getting a central bank, shouldn't have been a dumbass. You know, I look at life like a winner, right? I don't look at it like a loser. I can't look at this stuff like a victim. You know, and a lot of that comes from just being black, right? Like, you know, you come up and you're taught that white people are bad and white people are evil and a system of white supremacy, and, you know, you got to try, you know, twice as hard as them to make it. And that was my mentality for a really long time. And I got more powerful the more I broke away from that, right? And just saying like, no, I'm a human being and I have limitless potential.
Where was the turning point for you?
I saw a white man or a white woman, I forget who it was, and I saw them and I was angry because they were white. And I asked them, I felt my body get hot because I'm a very conscious individual where I like take note of myself, and I felt my body get hot. And I asked myself, I said, self, do they feel what you feeling right now? And self was like, nah, nigga, they don't. They don't. And I'm like, you're stupid, right? Yeah, I'm freaking stupid. And then I got into the whole spirituality thing, and it was just like, you get back what you put out into the earth, right? So if I'm out here and I'm hating white people, I should expect them to hate me back. But if I come out here and I love all people, I should expect nothing but love back. So now I spend my life not caring about skin color, right? Like I had a conversation previously, and the dude was like, how do you feel about like trying to target the black community? I'm like, I don't try and target the black community because I don't have to. I'm black with dreadlocks. How can I not target the black community? It's not possible, right? Like black dudes see me on. There's black dudes that watch y'all podcast. Like people act like black people in America are like living in the woods somewhere and not checking for this shit. They're watching Rogan, they're watching the news, they're watching the same thing white people are watching. We're all fucking Americans, So they make it seem like we have to do something different.
Biden doesn't think that you have the ability to get an ID. So he thinks you don't know quite how to pull that off.
Yeah, like
it's a tough one to make it to the DMV apparently for you.
Right, like what is this? They act like, I don't know, they act like we're babies. They just take away our own like ability to live. Is really weird.
It's a polarizing time in America.
Well, yeah, that's what they want. I mean, right? They want us
divided,
worrying about one another or different groups instead of worrying about who's stepping on our neck.
Sort of pisses me off as a father because my kids don't know anything about color or race. They don't get it at home at all. Yeah. They're taught that outside of my home. You know what I mean? My kids, since they were little, played with all different color kids. Never said anything, would never know anything. But now I feel like there's a distinction made. Now I've heard my daughter say, oh, they're black and I'm like, what does it matter? Like why do you even say that? You know what I mean? Well, and they weren't taught that in my house. They weren't taught it in the mother's house. So it comes from somewhere outside. You know what I mean?
Well, I believe it matters. I believe it matters to make the distinction.
Now why?
It's one thing to say I have racial pride, and it's another thing to say I have racial supremacy. Right? It's one thing to say I'm black, we're black people, and we're better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's another thing to say I'm black and I love being black. Those are two completely different things, right? And I think what happens is when it comes to race pride, people practice a sense of superiority to boost the ego.
That's a very tough thing to teach a child, though. My kids are 6 and 8. I don't want to say be proud to be white and then go to school and say I'm proud. Then they're going to be labeled a racist.
Oh, you know, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I would never do that. You know what I mean?
But when you listen to me, I be telling white people, hey man, you better go out and say you proud to be white, bro.
Right.
Like I need you guys to like be proud to be white. Like for example,
I will say with like critical race theory, don't make my kid feel bad for being white. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Don't fucking tell my kid that they should feel bad for something they had nothing to do with. You know what I mean?
White people had very little to do with the oppression in this country. Bankers had everything to do with it.
Right.
Ruling class, high society had everything to do with it, right? There's two different approaches because while there was black slaves, there was black slave owners. They don't talk about black slave owners, right? So when people talk about, oh, black people were slaves, I'm like, no, I'm joking, but I'm like, no, I was a slave owner. I had slaves. I had white slaves, I had black slaves, I had Irish slaves, I had all types of slaves in my lineage because this is true. You go look and you can see, like there's books on Amazon about this stuff. Like it's not hidden history, So they don't teach history in totality. They teach it to create division. But my thing is like when it comes to race, and Indians come here, they're allowed to be Indian. Chinese people are allowed to be Chinese. Whatever. And I even hear this weird thing from white folks, and I'm like, what the hell is this shit? And they're like, yeah, I'm white and I'm American, and I have nothing to do with my European ancestry. And I'm like, you need to. I don't know why, but I feel like you should because that's where you come from.
Yeah,
right. Like
so.
that's your origins. Like,
good to know your past.
Well, it's like when they talk about black people, right? They say we're going through an identity crisis, and I agree because we don't know our history, got erased, etc., etc. So when white folks detach themselves from Europe and you blast into the future 100 years, they're gonna have a complete loss of identity. And that's very important, right? Because there's a lot of different things that happen in Italian culture, that happen in Irish culture, Scottish culture. You need to tap into that stuff because traditionalism is the only thing that's going to save us. This American way of life is not it. We need to go backwards. If you want to learn how to fix this country, you got to go back into the past. How did your ancestors in Scotland treat their family? How did the Italians treat their family? You know how Italians get down when it comes to family. It's a certain, you know, I had Sam Tripoli on my podcast, and I asked him to divulge some secrets. He's like, yo, I can't give up all the secrets. And I'm like, that right there is a secret. The fact that you won't give up your secrets is a secret, like, to keep this stuff together. But what they want is they want a homogenous mind, right? So if we all think we're Americans, then they can infect us with a mental virus to make us all believe one thing, right? But if Italian people think one thing, Scottish people think one thing, black people think one thing, Jamaicans think one thing, you got to sit down and affect every single culture, and that's much harder for them, right? So that's why I say it's very important for you to grab your culture, go back into the past, because American culture was created by Hollywood.
Yeah, there's no American culture.
There's no American culture.
There's no worse time than right now for white people to embrace their culture and be vocal about it. Right? There's no worse time.
Well,
you immediately get attacked.
That's why I say you got to go into your past. Right? You have to go to the specific country. Because if you say, hey, I got Swedish pride, can't nobody say nothing.
Right.
If you say I got Scottish pride, or
that's a good way to do it, I guess.
What's St. Patrick's? Irish, right?
Irish, yeah.
I got Irish pride. What are they going to cancel St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah. They might. They might.
They might. Yeah, let me not give them any ideas. But, you know, that's why I say it's very important, because these terms, white and black, actually don't have any real meaning. These are legal terms, right? These aren't about races.
Right.
If you go look at the 90s, you had Arab populations were coming here, and they were asking to be classified on the books as white. The term black comes from the black codes in places like South Carolina. This is where you get Jim Crow, where black meant not free and white meant free. So you had black people, quote unquote black people, who were considered white.
Just because it's based on freedom or not.
Darker than me is a legal term.
Right.
And if you go back if you get an old enough version of like a Black's Law Dictionary, you'll see that. The newer versions, you know, obviously, you know, they do change words, definitions.
They definitely do.
But if you can find like a really old version, you'll see stuff like that in there.
See, they just rewrote the term, the definition of woman. They just rewrote it.
In the Oxford
Dictionary. They just rewrote it to someone that identifies as a woman, can be a woman.
Yeah.
Even
if they were born with female parts in the past. Or born
It's
male
insane.
parts.
I thought it was bad when they redefined recession.
Yeah. Right after recession happened, like a week later, they redefined it.
It was like
crazy.
I was it was my daughter's graduation party, and one of her uncles was there, and we were talking, and he said, yeah, you know, and I'm like, yeah, we're in a recession. He's like, we're not in a recession. And I'm like, wait, don't tell me you're waiting for the TV to tell you we're in a recession to realize we're in a recession, right? Jeez. And then what they do, you fast forward, and they completely change the definition
of course
what a recession was.
That's what they do.
Yeah, what they say, like two consecutive quarters or something like that. I believe it was 2 consecutive quarters of downward growth in the economy. It was classified as recession. We're on like 4 now. Yeah. They're like, no, we're not.
Jen Psaki trying to defend that. Remember, that was hysterical.
Yeah. We'll circle back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, like. You know, some people say we shouldn't talk about race. You shouldn't acknowledge race. No, like we need to. We should go towards it. Don't run from it, because running from it is gonna keep us in a sense of homogeneity. If you want to find likeness in people, find likeness in ideology.
I agree.
You know, you don't have to erase. I'm fucking brown. Don't say I'm not brown. Girls love this shit. They, look at this brown skin. You know, like acknowledge that. Don't pretend I'm not quote unquote black. Please acknowledge that. What we need to do is focus on, well, what's your ideology? What do you eat? What do you think? What's your political ideology? How do you feel about economics? You know, what are you reading right now? What are you watching? You know, that type of stuff is where we need to find commonality. But we don't have to ignore the race thing, and white folks got to go back and dig up their, you know, the funny thing is with dude, he was like, yeah, you know, I'm ignoring my European ancestry, but then he lists the countries he's from, right? He's like, I don't identify with my English, my Scottish, or my French.
But he knows,
But
he knows
you,
the hand
but he
down.
knows what it is. And it's just
yeah.
like, you just contradicted yourself, bro. Like, you do identify with that shit, and you should.
Yeah, it's part of who you are. Your family. I mean, my grandmother came here in the 50s, so I'm close to it. You know, I think some people, when they're like generations in here, they kind of feel far away from it. And I kind of understand that a little bit.
Yeah, like my favorite holiday is J6, man.
Yeah. Jason.
That's my favorite holiday.
That's an American. That's actually original American holiday.
Yeah. Well, you should have seen me, man. I had my white hood on, and I was like, let's go.
Velvet ropes you're standing between. Yeah.
No, like, I really enjoyed that day, man. It was just weird for me to see how they tried to control black people and make black people hate that day, right? And I'm just like, that's kind of hypocritical, because you said we live under a system of white supremacy. So you mean that system isn't in that Capitol building, that building of all buildings
Right.
where they had slaves is exempt from this system of white supremacy? So then when some white folks get up and they want to challenge that system, it's bad?
Right.
Oh, man, I loved that day, man.
Yeah.
Outside of the fact that, they had feds and planted in there, and
Yeah, it was all.
Sheffield was the one that was right there by that door when they breached the Capitol. That was Sheffield. He was an informant. He was embedded with Antifa and BLM. Yeah, go look up that name, Sheffield. And
Wait, is he the reporter that went through the entire building, like filming the whole thing with them? Yeah. There's a lot of suspect stuff. The one guy that was never prosecuted, what's his name? That was out.
Ray Epps.
Ray
Ray
Epps.
Epps,
Yeah, Ray Epps.
We gotta storm the building, and they're all yelling. I mean, everybody knew. They're like, "Fed." It wasn't like anybody didn't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Outside of those elements, so for example, right, what I always tell people is that was the white man's Million Man March. The difference is Farrakhan got the FOI, right? That's the Fruit of Islam. That's the military arm of the Nation of Islam. So when you go to the Million Man March, that's one of the safest places to be in DC. FOI do not mess around. They got eyes everywhere, and before any altercation kicks off, they're right there to break it up. I felt as though if they were going to do the J6 thing, you needed that type of organization to, like, eyes on everything. You need your guys in tactical gear, your walkie-talkies, just organizing the crowd, stopping anything. That was the difference between how the NOI organizes and how it was very disorganized, the J6 thing, which allowed.
But I think the part of the
Fed-
disorganization was that there was never the intent was never to go into the Capitol. They were sort of encouraged to do so, right? I don't think they went there to storm it. Go
was
in
a
there. I
setup.
don't think most anyway.
Yeah,
Maybe
setup.
some
That
did.
was
It was a
setup.
setup, though.
You
We
know?
all knew it was a
This
setup.
way, come this way. Yeah.
If I got the word it was a setup
right.
before J6, the people on the ground should have been ready. I knew 2 weeks in advance. I got phone calls. Hotep, don't go.
Yeah.
I
We
got
talked
those-
about going. No, obviously not to go in the Capitol, but just going to show support that we're disgusted with what's going on, and obviously
I got
being-
the phone calls.
Yeah.
So, my people tipped me off and let me know.
Well,
like,
give us a call next time. Let us know.
I'll let you know next time. Yeah, definitely. But, if I got the call, somebody should have organized and had that there. And there has been, not as big, but you will see militia groups sort of organize and handle intelligence on the ground at certain gatherings, political gatherings, etc. Obviously not same size, but in different spots like Arizona, etc., etc. You do have militia groups that handle that type of stuff. And outside of that, I thought J6 was like, a beautiful thing, man. I really, really enjoyed it, man. I loved it. That was, I loved the Million Man March, and I loved J6. I was like, go white man, go. Let's go. Like I always say, man.
I think it was a real eye opener to the powers that be, what could be, and I think that's why they persecuted those people to the nth degree. I mean, they had no due process. They were held in jail forever, and they didn't even know what to charge them with. You know what I mean? They were like, we got to get them something, and there was some of those guys. I mean, at least one I know committed suicide because the stress of it all was too much for him. So
yeah, I don't condone any insurrection.
Nor do I.
I don't condone any violence at J6.
Nor do I.
Right? This is for the
Yeah.
censorship purposes.
Right,
Disclaimer. Right? I don't condone any violence.
Allegedly.
Yeah. You know,
But it wasn't a violent protest. It wasn't, with the exception of what's her name? That got shot.
Babbitt.
Babbitt.
Ashley
Yeah.
Babbitt, yeah. that was
Ashley
sad.
Babbitt, with the exception of that, and with the exception of the cop being hit by. I mean, there was definitely fights. There was definitely, you know, I know that some people were injured, but I'm talking about guns. People weren't showing up. People weren't, you know, there was only one round that was discharged. Was Ashley Babbitt, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I enjoyed the fact that they gathered. You know, the fact that they gathered there to stand up for what they believed in. They felt that the election wasn't fair. And I just love to see people fight for what they believe in, right? And I'm not even a protest guy. Like when Black Lives Matter was protesting, I'm like, yo, go home. You're not doing anything. We're making this stuff worse. Like, you know, but it was weird. Like when I was telling people not to protest, they're like, what should we do? I'm like, you know, you could just build your own economy, right? Like, and then it was like, buy black, right? And then they usurped that. Right, so now it's like you go on Netflix and it's just like all the white liberal approved programming is buying black, and it's just like that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? It's like,
That is true, though. That is very true.
I meant like get rid of the liquor store in the neighborhood and replace that with a black-owned Whole Foods, like control your local economics, not like hey, you know, let's launch this, whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like control your local economics. You know, the distribution channels, right? Because like that's a big thing where the Chinese community. Well, let me say this correctly. There was a particular distributor that was a Chinese-owned company that would not sell to a black female-owned beauty supply store because they owned a distribution channel. And it was a big story because they came out, they finally launched, everybody loved it, and they were like, yo, it was like 2 months later they had to go out of business because the Chinese man wouldn't sell to them because they were competitors, they were direct competitors. You know, Chinese, the beauty supply chain is mostly controlled by Asians. It's really hard to go in and to the hood and buy, you know, women, they get the weave and the hair. Show me one where you go in and it's black owned.
Really?
Really see that? Yo, we should do a documentary, right? And just drive to every hood and go in a beauty supply store and see who owns it. You know what I mean? So when I said buy black, I meant control the distribution channels of how we shop and how we spend, right? Because as all the money is leaving our community via Chinese food stores, hair supply, liquor stores, dispensaries, et cetera, all that money just leaves the community. And this isn't like a thing to like fight against white people. It's just like it's a variable, right? So if X community is impoverished, maybe they need to circle that dollar in their community a few times before it leaves. You know what I'm saying? If your schools don't have the funding, you know, your local police don't have the funding, your fire department, people don't have jobs, they don't have education. Well, who's going to do that? You depending on Biden to do it? Biden said if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. So he definitely don't like black people, right? So you kind of got to do for self. And the response I got was capitalism is inherently white supremacist. And I'm like, oh, you've never picked up a history book before. Because the history book could tell you we was practicing capitalism in Africa. I mean, that's how Egypt got destabilized. Mansa Musa was throwing gold coins everywhere, destabilized the whole place, you know, and destabilized the economy.
At one point in time, there was a Black Wall Street, right?
There was a couple of them.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, outside. Was it Oklahoma or just outside of Oklahoma?
Well, that's the thing. Like the white liberal likes to make it seem like it was one Black Wall Street. It was like 8 of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the one you're talking about is Tulsa.
Yes.
Yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah. And they had their own currency.
Right.
So who do you think did that?
Yeah.
Sam Bankman-Fried? Yeah. So, but yeah, you know, like, so that's another thing, right? Like the civil rights movement to me was a bad idea. NAACP was a very bad idea. So one of my teachers is Thaddeus Russell, and he has some very interesting sources of information when it comes to Black history. It's a white dude who knows Black history better than me. And, according to the sources I've seen from him, what they were doing, they were coming to Black communities in the South, and they were saying, hey, we're about to integrate. And they're like, wait, we don't want to be in white schools. We pay taxes here, so we would like that same return in our educational institutions. If we're paying taxes, our buildings shouldn't look like this. We need our stuff upkept like the white community. And they're like, no, we're pushing for integration. They're like, no, we're not getting down with integration. And then, like my uncle taught me, he said integration was disintegration. That's what really destroyed the Black community was, integration. We stopped shopping with ourselves because we wanted to be next to white folks. And the funny thing is, when you go back and look at Jim Crow and segregation, right? So it's segregation, then desegregation. Well, let me ask you this. Would you need segregation if white folks and Black folks was already getting along?
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
Obviously, they was getting along, so you came in to separate them.
Right.
Because you didn't like that. Some dude was mad because, Tyrone was banging his wife, so he's like, oh, no, we can't have this, right?
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. A select few of people who had power came in and didn't like the intermixing, and they saw their cousins was going down on the bayou and kicking it with us, and we was all dancing, having a good time. You never had to tell Black folks to get together or to separate. They had to legislate that. So they first legislated, y'all got to separate. Then, once they got you separated and they breeded hate between the two groups, now it's like, integrate and fight.
Right.
And now you got red ants with black ants, and now you're fighting when you could have just had everything just happen organically, right? So segregation hurt, then integration hurt, right? And then now you look at the Black community and it's like, what's wrong? And it's just like, well, you fucking created
Stirred
that.
the pot.
Yeah, exactly. The ant thing. You put red ants and black ants in a jar, and they get along harmoniously. Someone comes along and shakes that thing. Who's the bad guy? The fucking dude that shook it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
the race question is really, really difficult to have, but I love having it.
It is a tough one in today's day and age. I mean, I guess at any time, but right now it's tough because everything is. It's so
polarizing,
right?
Yeah.
It's so contentious, and they want us to fight with each other.
But the thing is, the Black voice is controlled. The Black voice is controlled. I gotta say it one more time. The Black voice is controlled. We don't have a voice
By media.
Yes, media or social media. You saw what happened with the Twitter files. I'm sure. I'm waiting for them. I want my file. I want Elon to send me my file because I'm sure they got the word Hotep, amplified and de-amplified.
We wanted to ask you about that Hotep. That's Egyptian, means peace.
Yeah, peace, satisfaction.
Yeah.
So what happened was the whole Mike Brown situation broke out. Everybody's in disarray. Black Lives Matter starting to rise to the top. Keep in mind, I'm telling people in like 2014, 2015, Black Lives Matters like. It's a ruse, okay? I'm telling people, and they're like, oh, you just hating. I'm like, nah, I know when some shit's real and when some shit's fake. I could just go to the website. The website says mothers, parents, and children. Where's dad in that?
Right.
It's right there.
The nuclear family,
Yeah, you don't just omit dad by accident, right? Like that was done on purpose. And then there's LGBTQ all over the page. And I'm like, this ain't for us. This is for another community.
Yeah.
So I'm telling them this, and they're like, no, you're tripping, da-da-da-da. I'm like, all right, whatever, cool. So then they label me Hotep. They say like Hoteps are homophobic, right? And well, it's true. Ancient Egypt was very homophobic, right? So Hotep is Africa is a homophobic, as they use the term, right? Like they're not for same-sex marriages, right? So yes, we are a bit apprehensive to that lifestyle. That's not to say modern times today, I'm gonna be like, yo, we should beat these people up or they shouldn't have rights. No, like you want to get married to, if John wants to marry Joe, I show up at the wedding, throw some flowers, like, where the alcohol at? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's party. Like, I don't care. I got gay family members, but it's different from saying, let's push this lifestyle on everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to. I don't want to push my lifestyle on anybody, right? But
I'm
so
with you on
we
that.
saw that. But anyway. It became a pejorative. Hotep became a pejorative. They labeled me Hotep. They labeled me Hotep Jesus. I took the name and I ran with it, and that was just that. But it was mostly because I'm a black capitalist. Like, I really believe that ain't no system of white supremacy that can stop black folks. The system of white supremacy that's stopping black folks is called communism.
Yeah.
If we want to be real, it's called communism. It's called socialism. It's called minimum wage. Like, let's be real here, right? Like, minimum wage, if I became president, the first thing I would do is I would eliminate minimum wage. The first thing I would do. Now, anybody who's never read Soul or Dr. Williams or even studied their arguments wouldn't understand why minimum wage destroyed the black community. How are you supposed to get skills?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Minimum wage is made for kids, not people raising families.
Correct.
You're supposed to build those skills with a minimum wage job.
Right. So, for example, John, he wants to get his car fixing business, mechanic, right? He wants to get his business off the ground. And it's a kid next door. His dad's absent, right? And, you know, he tells the kid, look, I ain't got much money. I just started out. I'm going to throw you a couple of dollars. If the kid spends some time with him for the next year, the kid knows how to practically build an engine and all types of skills, right? But if there's that barrier of minimum wage, now this guy has to risk breaking the law. You know, there's, you know, labor laws as far as dealing with minors and all of that stuff, right? So how is the kid supposed to get these skills? You know what I mean? Even in New York, they're trying to get rid of like the internship laws, et cetera, et cetera. So how does he get these skills? So you say, look, I could pay you, less than minimum wage, right? But minimum wage is what now? Like $12, $14? I think it's higher now.
New York, it's like 15, I think. I don't know about Jersey, but New York, I think it's 15.
Working towards 15.
Yeah, so even if you wanted to pay somebody underneath the table, you couldn't compete with McDonald's.
Exactly.
Right? You couldn't even compete because they know that large corporations can fit the bill.
Yep.
And that's really what this comes down to. It's really squashing the ability for people to climb up the ladder.
Yeah.
And taking away people's ability to learn real skills.
But even big business, I mean, doesn't that really push them to automate a lot of things? Because it's cheaper, right? So
yes,
you're losing.
There's also that factor.
You know, you're less people employed. You have more unemployment. If the higher the minimum wage rate goes up, the more big business that has the capital to do it is going to automate things that they can automate, right? You're going to walk into a McDonald's and it's going to be one person instead of 15 people, and everything's going to be run by a machine, and that one person.
It's already that way, though, right?
In a lot of places,
Look at all Wawa, quick check.
Yeah, push button, everything.
Get, even in fucking ShopRite, you can't get. It's
can't
all
get no service.
Yep.
You can't
all
get
automated stuff.
Yeah. But, my main thing is, you can't get people the skills, right? Because if you come work for, let's say I paid you $1 an hour and you worked at an auto mechanic shop, at least you could take those skills, leave me, and still make a living.
Yeah.
Right? Just doing oil changes or something like that, or checkups or tune-ups. At least you could make, and a good living too, right? You could be here all day fixing cars, right out of your garage, whatever it is. So it's just, to me, it's just, minimum wage is the first place I start. But communism is and the funny thing is what they like to do, the white liberal, they're going to pull up, but the Black Panther Party was communist. Dog, them dudes was 20 years old. I love what they did. Amazing. I'm not taking economic advice from a 20-year-old. I'm so sorry, Huey P. Newton. I love you. You're a brave individual. I don't know what I would have did if I was your age. I probably would have been half the man you were. I might have been a communist. But hindsight is 20/20. And communism ain't it. Okay? But they like to pull that up. But it's like, well, who gave him the indoctrination of communism? Who taught the Black Panthers communism? They didn't come up with that. Somebody planted that there, right? Just like they planted the FBI with the Black Panther Party. Just like they put the FBI with the Bloods and the Crips and every other gang that originally were offshoots of the Black Panther Party, which were good for the community. All that stuff was planted just like communism. So then you got black folks who running around with the Democratic Party talking about they love communism, we need socialism, we need Medicare. I'm like, don't you know this is the stuff that's destroying your community? Like if we want to call it racism, white supremacy, this is intellectual racism, where we don't have to call you the N-word anymore. We don't have to put you on the plantation anymore. We're just going to install this policy that you'll love and it's going to destroy your community.
The welfare state, for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way to rise up out of poverty, no matter what color you are, doesn't matter, is to educate yourself. That always seems to be the way out, you know?
You got to get marketable skills.
Right.
You know, that's Booker T. Washington. That was his philosophy. You know, the gentleman that built the Tuskegee Institute for Education. He didn't say, yo, go to college and get a degree. He said, no, learn a trade.
Right.
Then we go and pick up the books. Because he understood that if the books didn't work out, you could
something to
fall back on,
right.
you know, electrician, plumbing, HVAC. These things are very important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Like,
I think that's lost on a lot of kids today. Kids are, whether it be pressured or whatever, to go to college. It's just by design now. Go to college. Like, you're just, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, you're so much better off learning a trade, especially if you don't know exactly what you want to get into. If you're just like, I'm just going to go first year, I don't know, you're better off learning a trade. And that doesn't mean you have to go to a trade school. You can learn that trade by going into the workforce and becoming, learning under somebody, you know?
You know, I say the worst decision parents make is sending their kids to school.
Yeah.
Don DeMarco. It's just a terrible idea. Every kid needs to be homeschooled. And I'm saying that so my dad was an electrician, right? My dad was one of 2 black electrical inspectors in the state of New Jersey during his time. One of 2 in all of New Jersey. And was great at what he did. I used to go on jobs with him. We built our basement. So I know I don't have a trade, but I kind of know my way around things. You know, I know my way around a toolbox. I'm no dummy at all. Could I wire a house? No. I'd have to call my dad. But I'm sitting next to an electrician, and I never picked up on that because I looked at my dad's job as lesser. When I was a kid, he like, yo, what you want to do? I want to sit behind a desk. What? Where did I learn that?
Where did you learn that?
TV.
And, you know, everybody made it seem like the blue collar job was lesser than the white collar job. Then I grew up and I'm like, yo, I want a blue collar job. This white collar stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
It's trash. It's not even fun.
Right.
At least, like, I did a summer at the Department of Public Works. Mad fun. You know, you go around, Department of Public Works, you pick up trash, leaves and, dumping mulch and cutting grass. I was in shape, though. I was healthy. You go work and sit at a desk, you like, ugh, you got back problems, you're getting out of shape, you know what I mean? I loved having conversation with some of the older dudes. It helped me mature. When I worked at UPS, I gained like 30 pounds of muscle. Right? Like, all of this stuff was good. Like, men need to be working with their hands. Like, you need to learn that first and foremost. That office stuff, that's for, can I say this? It's for women.
We're shadow banned anyway, no matter.
You know, that men need to be out here building things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, first and foremost. So when I look in hindsight, I'm like, man, I wish I had what my dad, what his expertise was. I wish I would have paid attention a little bit more.
Now, why do you say that? As a fallback? Because you seem like you're doing really well for yourself. As a fallback, you wish you'd learned it?
No, just to know.
Just to have a skill set.
Just to know. Yeah. Like, if there's something in my house, I got to call somebody.
Yeah.
Now, granted, because of I hanging out with my dad, like, my lady be looking like, dang, you know how to do that? You know how to do that? I'm like, yo, my dad told me I can handle this. This is I got this, baby.
Chicks love that. Chicks love when you fix shit. They fucking love it.
Oh, they love that.
My girl's like, you know how to do that? I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? Even if I don't, I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, shit, I better Google this. I better fucking YouTube this.
Yeah. But like, finding a beam in the wall without a beam finder, I don't remember how to do that.
Yeah.
I lost that skill.
Yeah.
Right. Wait, what was the sound? Like, it's okay. Hollow and then not hollow, right? And then you're drilling holes, and now it's like 800 holes, and you done missed all the big beams.
There are always 16 inches on center, so if you can find one, you can find the next one. You know what I mean?
Not in his basement.
Well, this is metal. You got metal down here.
Yeah, but and then remembering stuff like that. Well, how many was it? Was it 12? Was it 16?
Right.
And is it for the second floor or the second floor? Like, what is the right? So just those little things I wish I'd have just paid attention to a little bit more, But at one point I did want it for a fallback. I don't need to fall back now. Thank God, thank the Lord. Thank Joe Rogan.
Can we ask about that? How did Joe Rogan find you? How did he become, because that guy has some high level, if you made it on his show, bro, he's, actually, no, never mind. I take that back. Frankie was on his show. So I was
I got it in. I got the UFC in, bro.
Yeah, you got the UFC in. I'd have to go kick some ass first. Joe said one of his friends told him.
Right on.
Oh, that's what's up.
He ain't tell me who.
That's
And
awesome.
I know he know who.
Yeah, of
He
course,
act like he don't know who.
Of course.
But one of his friends, I think it was Alex Jones. If I had to take a guess.
Yeah.
I think so. I think Alex was like, yo, you need to have Hotep on.
Well, there's another question then. How did Alex find you?
I don't know.
So I guess where was your first platform where you became outspoken enough for people to say, wow, that guy is polarizing,
I did the Starbucks stunt.
Okay.
That's how I landed on the map.
What's that?
A couple of black dudes in Philadelphia got racially profiled in the
heard
Starbucks.
that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, for doing nothing, though, right?
They were doing absolutely nothing. Yeah. And it was legit. They legit got racially profiled.
Really? I thought Starbucks was like liberal central. They were like.
Well, they went after this. They went in after this. They had to clean up because of this incident.
Yeah, they went super liberal to clean this up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this happened and it was viral news. So it was a Wednesday. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I should just go into a Starbucks and ask for free coffee. But I'm very, like, macho in the sense that, like, I'm not about to go reaching for fame and reaching for a viral. So it was Saturday. My lady was like, yo, I want to go to the mall. And I never say yes. And this day, I was like, all right, let's go. I'm not doing anything. So we go to the mall. We're sitting down. We just had onions. And I look over and it's a Starbucks right there. And I'm just like, let's do it. So I pulled out my phone. I went live. I went to Starbucks. I said, yo, I heard y'all was racist. I need some reparations coffee. Black Lives Matter. And she gave me the coffee and the shit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, and the shit went viral. I was on Fox. And then that's when Alex had me on. Because the story went viral and Alex thought I was a real Black Lives Matter dude.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
And it ended up on Jesus and Mero's show. They thought I was Black Lives Matter the way out. I'm just trolling. You know what I'm saying? I'm just having fun with, the current events. And then sure enough, Alex had me on. He was like, yo, I got to apologize, because I thought you were one of them, but you're really one of us. And I'm like, yo, it's all good, Alex. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a big fan. Like, let's do this.
That's
and
awesome,
it's been
man.
cool ever since. Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, man. If you hadn't done that, you've got a platform now.
I'd still be broke. Well, I wouldn't be broke. I'd still be like, because at the time I was doing digital marketing for startups. So I'd still be having to fucking deal with the white liberal as my boss. That shit was terrible. I gotta tell you.
Tough.
It was horrible working for the white liberal in tech. It was so.
That's just that whole community's like that, though.
You want to talk about racism?
Yeah.
Give me Earl in a pickup truck that calls me an N-word over working for one of these white liberals in tech any day of the week. First of all, they walk in a building, they think you're dumb. Like, here's a mouse. I had a lady one time like try to show me what a mouse was.
What do you say? Do you play along?
Listen, if it was Roger, he'd be like, a mouse. He put his feet up. A mouse where?
He's not wrong. I'm not too bright. I was on fucking Jersey Shore. Come on. The fuck do you think I'm a genius?
Nah, like I would make this mistake, which in hindsight wasn't a good idea, but I would go over their head. So because I have like a really strong tech background, like I built my first website in 1997. Okay. I was fixing and repairing computers in 94.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? You don't seem old enough.
42.
You're 42?
Yeah.
Man, black don't crack. Holy shit.
Black
bro.
don't crack as long as you don't do crack.
You look good. You look good, brother. You look
Thanks,
good. No
man.
homo, but you look good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a strong tech background. So when they like try to minimize me, I would ask them questions that were over their head and then give them the answer. And then they'd feel inferior to me. And then usually at that point, they'd not like me. Right. And I'd get ostracized out the job because I was too smart. So they thought I was dumb. They're going to,
they don't want you too smart.
Yeah.
They don't want you too smart either.
Because they think like, white liberals, like they think you can't get ID.
Yeah.
They really think that. They really think
It's
like.
insanity.
Yeah. So then when you come and you know more than them, now they feel threatened. They feel like you're going to take their job, or, and because, I'd come and I'd do the job and I'd make the job look easy. And so everybody in the startup would feel threatened because they're putting all these hours in. I come in and I do some shit in like 2 hours. Like one time I went to this startup and it was all Ivy League grads, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, okay? Kids straight out of college. I have no educational background whatsoever. Well, no degree, I should say. And when the bosses left, when the C-level execs left, all the grads would come to me and ask me to help them with their projects. You know what I'm saying? So like people knew, but I had that from experience. Like I had to get out the mud. Like I have like sales background from selling mortgages. I was a bartender. I served tables. I was a touring artist. So I was doing digital marketing as a touring artist. I had to learn Facebook. I was popping on MySpace when MySpace was popping. We had MySpace on lock. We had Adderbot programs working. Right, so I'm just adding people as friends with my Adderbot and like bots, and so I'm like got 100,000 followers on MySpace. Then Twitter came around, and I'm dominating. So like I remember when I got the job at this startup, they didn't even know what Twitter was, but it was weird because I tell them how to work Twitter, and they be like, "Nah, we shouldn't do it like that. They were saying things like we have to schedule out our tweets a week in advance. I'm like, Twitter don't work like that. Like this is like if you ain't get that tweet out
up to date.
Yeah, like you don't get that tweet out in 5 minutes.
Someone else got it. Right?
You done missed the boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have no formal education. You're self-taught. You're just well-read, or I mean, you're an intelligent guy. Where do you gain your plethora of knowledge?
So my dad.
I read Cat in the Hat. I'm not half as intelligent as you.
Well, here's the thing. Like my dad, electrical engineer, right? My mother, accountant, master's degree, taught college. My sister, PhD, health administration. My brother,
she like white
IT.
Guys?
Huh?
She like white guys.
She's single.
All right, we'll talk after the show.
I'll hook you up, man. I'm tired of the dude she's been dating, man. My brother, IT, graduate. So when
Your
I was
parents didn't fuck around, man. They raised some. Man,
yeah.
I could see if my dad's listening, I can see the disappointment in his eyes right now after hearing that.
Well, I was the black sheep. I was the one that never got right.
Okay.
But I'm looking at everybody around me. They all got jobs. And I'm like, y'all got all them degrees and you still got jobs? Like you got a boss?
Yeah.
I'm going to school. I'm like, I don't even like my teacher. I don't want to grow up and have a boss.
Yeah.
So I'm hustling as a kid trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. So I never respected education because I seen people who were educated. Like, for example, my dad worked from 4 p.m. He got home I think he got off at 12 a.m. So I never saw my dad except for the weekends. He picked me up from school and then he went to work. My mother would wake up at 6 a.m. She'd work for a Fortune 500 company till 9 p.m. So I never seen my mom. But they was there. They both, I lived really good. Like we had great vacations. We went to Jamaica. I lived a good life. I'm not going to take that away. But I'm looking like, y'all working y'all ass off and y'all got degrees. Obviously degrees ain't the way.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that out young. And then I remember my first year at community college, man, this black lady used to pull up in my accounting class in the Pinto. And I'm like, this is my teacher, or I just pull pranks on my teachers. Like I would I was so arrogant that if I was more intelligent than you, I would have to like prove it to you. So I would
listen when you leave. Don't mind the 1998 Ford Ranger outside. My Jeep is in the shop.
But you gotta have an old car now.
I do. I've always my whole life I've had a hoopty. I have a nice car and a hoopty. I've always had a hoopty because you never if your nice car's in the shop, the hoopty's good enough just to run around town in.
But you can't fix these new cars.
Yeah, true. That is true. Yeah.
Like in the future, that car right there gonna be worth a lot of money because these new cars gonna be connected to the grid.
Well, not only that, the DEF stuff and all that crap. It's crazy. Yeah, you're right.
I'm looking for a Honda Prelude right now.
There you go.
I need me like a 92 or 94. I think it was 92 to 94. I can't remember. I need me a Honda Prelude.
Don't mention the Ranger to your sister. Just say say he's a nice boy with a podcast. He's got a nice car.
Yeah, but I like to read. I gotta be honest with you. I like studying, man. I have just an inquisitive mind. So if it's something I don't know, for example, I went to go after I was working with 50 Cent at a startup, and then when I left that, I wanted to start my own agency, and I went to go get my first like real gig with an app company. This is before the app store blew up. I was working with investors, and the investors were like, we don't want to deal with mobile apps. It was so new. Nobody want to do it. I'm like, yo, this is the future. This is the future. This is where we need to be. And they'd like, nah, we're just going to launch a spirits brand. I'm like, no, put that money into an app. It's mad money, whatever. Nobody got it. So I went and started working for an app development company. And I went to apply for an interview, and he was asking me questions. I didn't know shit. I was like, what? What? ASO? What the fuck is ASO? App Store Optimization. He was asking me all these different things about engagement, analytics, retention. I didn't know none of this stuff, man. I studied for like 2 years, and then I just became an expert in digital marketing. The funny thing is, I didn't have the terms, but I knew what I was doing, right? I knew SEO. I didn't know it was called SEO, right? So I had to study up, get acclimated. But I'm just the type of person where, like, if I don't know something, I got to go look it up. I'm a geek. I got to be honest with you. I was a nerd in high school. I was like a nerd who looked cool and got girls. But I'd come home and be fucking hacking on the computer. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a geek. I'm a geek and I'm a nerd. That's just really what it comes down to. That just happened to, be dabbling in hip hop and be around people who got swag and kind of pick up on that. You know what I mean? So. For sure. I got style, I got grace and all of that, but I'm a geek at heart, man. All I do is study. Nothing really holds my attention unless it's a documentary.
Sure. I love documentaries myself.
Yeah.
I can't stand watching like traditional TV or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Can't. Only thing I could really do is fights, like MMA, boxing. I could watch that stuff. But like ordinary TV shows. Did you see the new Stallone joint?
Nah,
Tulsa? Tulsa's great, bro.
Did you watching that?
Great.
You're watching
That's
it?
great, man.
Yeah,
It's fucking great, bro. It's great.
It's amazing.
He's good at anything he's in, man. I love Stallone, bro. That dude, tell me that, what is he? He's like fucking pushing 80, right? And he looks fucking great, bro.
Oh my God.
Dude still got it.
But let's be honest. If it wasn't for Stallone, that show would be trash.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I don't
There's
think
a lot of things wrong. Like, remember when he walks in and he hits a dude with the thermos?
Yeah. He threw it at him, right?
Yeah, he threw it at him. Like, this is open carry state.
Yeah.
Like, you're not about to walk in a dispensary.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
So it's a little like flaws in the writing.
Yeah.
But Stallone alone carries the show.
I agree with you, because every movie you can pick apart, right? You can pick the writing apart, you can pick the facts of it apart or whatever. But you get the right casting, the right act, you overlook it. You can definitely overlook it. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Like my dad was a military dad, so sometimes when I'm watching military movies, I'm like, yo, babe, you gotta shut this off.
I do the same thing. I pick movies apart. Yeah. I do it all the time.
It's not even fun. Yeah.
I'm simple.
My girl had me watch some movie.
What you watch?
I'm honestly, right now I'm watching Yellowstone.
What's that?
That's the same guy that wrote King of Tulsa.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name? Sheridan.
Tulsa King. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's pretty much modern day.
You never heard of that? It's got like, I watched like one episode and I just didn't, for whatever reason. It was well done. I don't know why. I just didn't get into it, or I never got back into it or whatever. But it's got like a cult following. Yeah. Everybody fucking loves that show.
It's present time right now. It's Yellowstone.
Yeah.
It's like about a rancher in Montana, and he's had that land. His family's had that land since like the 1700s.
Okay.
And they actually have prequels from the 1700s, and then the 1920s. They have like two other prequels. For the show.
What, are they trying to take the land from him or something?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Oh, I need that.
Yeah, it's good.
I need that.
Kevin Costner's in it.
Oh, Kevin Costner.
Yeah,
okay.
It's really good.
Yeah, he's
really
a good actor.
Yeah.
You know what I be watching is Naked and Afraid.
Ah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
told me.
No, I was thinking. Sorry, I got it confused with the show that Alone. We've been watching Alone. Alone's good too. There's a girl from so I grew up in this tiny little Maine town where everybody knows everybody. It's a little town, 800 people, population of 800 people, right? Like 7 different towns went to my one high school, and there was only 300 kids in the whole high school. And I'm watching it Alone because I've watched numerous seasons of it, and I'm watching it. It had just come out, and it's like, this girl's from Cherryfield, Maine, and I'm like, This is my fucking hometown. Like, I gotta know. So I call my dad immediately. And he's never heard of her. Supposedly, like, she moved there very recently from somewhere else. But anyway, it was cool. There was a girl on there this season that's from my hometown.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I saw Alone. My Chad told me to watch Alone.
It's good,
but,
man. It's realistic and believable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is.
Like Survivor's not, in my opinion.
No. But Naked and Afraid to me is great because you have the social aspect.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really for. You know, like, oh shit, they done ran into some people with some supplies.
Yeah.
You know, they got a lot of fish, but what's that gonna do when you got extra mouths to feed?
Yeah.
You know?
True.
Oh, so they're together.
Well, this is
in
Naked and Afraid XL. They got like different groups.
It's always a man and woman, right? They do it together that don't necessarily know each other, right? They meet naked, right? That's the whole vulnerability side of it.
Yeah, but I'm watching XL now. It's Naked and Afraid XL. So obviously this stuff I'm late. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's 3 dudes and 3 girls. And then a guy and a girl and a guy and a girl. Or 2 girls. They mix it up. So you had like this one time, like the crew was on like day 21. And there's another team filming, and it was a guy and a girl. And their thing is done. Is day 21, they're going to extraction. And they run into the crew that's doing 45 days or 40 days. And they ask them, like, you want to stay? He's like, I ain't got nothing to do. I'm going to stay.
No way.
Yo,
They stayed another 20 days.
No way.
He stayed another 20 days.
Oh my God.
But he was like a Marine. No, he was what was he, Spec Ops or something? No, Ranger. He was a Ranger.
No, that dude just didn't like his wife.
Well, he had no family.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
He had no family, so he stayed.
Yep.
And it turned out to be a complete nightmare for him.
Oh, shit.
Days. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Alone's great, man, because some of those people, like, they always do the interview up front, and you're like, you try to pick, like, in your head, you're like, this guy's probably going to make it, because there's only, like, one person that makes it to the end.
Yeah.
No, I guess not, right? Because it's what was the first season? The first season was...
No, it is one person. I think
100 Days, right? Was the first season,
It's
I think?
Last Man Standing, right?
It's Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
Is it Last Man Standing?
It's Last
okay.
Man Standing,
I thought it was whoever
They had
could make
100
it
days once. That was the longest one they ever did.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
But that's more
But
realistic.
You kind of pick who you think, right? And then, because they, everybody kind of pours on the bravado, like, I'm good at this. I can make spears. I can make fire and rain and all this shit. And and they turn out to be, a lot of the times, totally opposite of what you think. Like, remember the guy that thought he was having a heart attack? He made it like 3 days, and it wasn't a heart attack. He just had a panic attack.
He made the hot tub, though. He made a hot tub out of like some...
Was that the same guy?
Yeah, he made a hot tub.
Yeah, he found like a half a boat or something.
Yeah, he found half a boat and made a hot tub out of it.
What?
I was like, that's pretty dope. But he didn't last. He lasted like 2 days.
But this is like Alone and Naked. This is the stuff you gotta watch, right? Especially if you're one of those doomsday preppers.
Yeah.
Because these people know how to survive.
They do.
They absolutely do. Yep.
And I think if you're really serious about being an American, remember we were talking about why did you want to have a trade? I just want to know how to make fire. I just want to know how to have a show.
I think those are important skills, man. And it's. I grew up in Maine. I grew up in a tiny little town, and I know I keep saying that, but you learn those skills, And I think it's important that I teach my kids some of those. It's just a different way of life here. It's hard. Like I even mentioned like hunting to my daughter. She's such an animal now. She's like, I'm not kidding. I don't maybe kill anything. I'm like, you don't have to kill something. Let's just see if we see something. You can put the sights on it. You don't have to kill it, but it's just an important thing to know. It's a good skill set to have. And so I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that, Daddy. I'm like, all right, you don't have to do it. It's like, it's crazy.
That's the funny thing. Like now, like, everybody talks about guns and like, Hotep, you in the guns? I'm like, bro, I've been shooting guns since I was like 5. My dad's a military guy.
Yeah.
I'm over guns. It's like I have a gun, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. But, I have weapons. But like, somebody, when was the last time you been in a range? I haven't been in a range.
Same way. I'm the same way.
But
man, I got a 3% tattoo on the back of my neck, and people like see it and like, holy shit, this guy. I am not an operator, which is obviously someone that shoots all the time. I'm not. It's just the belief that I believe, in America and the right to stand up against tyranny. That's what it means to me. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I have to go to the range every single weekend. It doesn't mean I can talk fluently about every gun ever made or whatever.
Right.
That's not what it means to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now since everything's changing, Google, you Google it now. Obviously you know what it means. It means the 3% of the people, the colonists that were here at the time that took up arms against the king's tyranny, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's like getting redefined. Like now you're part of a militia. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Part of a fucking militia. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
But not like, I could take my Glock apart in about 5 seconds.
Good for you,
like,
man.
I walk around my shit and I keep my shit.
What do you got? Glock 22, 17, 19?
No, I got a 9. It's not this. What is it? 10. It can take the 17 mag, but it's Jersey, so it's not legal. I don't even actually know the model. I forget.
But it's 9mm?
It's 9.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 9.
Yeah.
So I can take that thing apart pretty fast, and I walk around with it, and I practice. But
Yeah,
I don't go to the range. But the thing is, like, I remember being like 16, going to the range. My dad's friends come. My dad's got the 44 Desert Eagle. You know what I mean? When it first came out, straight out of Israel, straight out of the box.
Probably the most impractical gun ever made, but it looks cool as fuck. That thing is brutally heavy. It just
heavy.
looks. It's in every movie ever
Have you
made
fired
because
one?
Yeah, I fired
no
the
recoil,
357. I fired because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
It's so impractical, but it looks bad fucking ass,
It's
bro.
badass.
I'm pretty sure it's the gun Schwarzenegger had in Terminator.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. Except it was a little
It's
modified.
made by Israeli Arms.
Israeli Arms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I'm 16, I'm a little kid, and his friends, they all go to the range, and they grab the Desert Eagle, and they can't hit the target. And my dad's like, Brian, come over here and hit the target, show them how to do this. And I pick the thing up, bang, and I put it back down, target. You know what I mean? They're looking at me like, and I'm like, yo, my dad used to drag me to the range all of the time. So, like, for me, firing guns was a task.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. So when people say, yo, guns, I'm like, yeah.
No, I'm not. Even people see the tattoo and they're like, "Oh, those guys are fucking." You could probably out talk me when it comes to guns, but again, it's the premise, it's the principle, it's what I believe in. I believe that like our Constitution stands for something. You know what I mean? So
My
I
brother
like going to range though.
this
Yeah,
guy.
I mean, well, outside. I like going
it's
outside.
fun when you
outside.
go.
Yeah,
it's fun.
fun.
It is a lot
I
of
don't
fun.
go often,
I
but
love
I do like to go.
that this guy's gotten into it. I'm not saying he was never into it, but I think you had like one gun maybe when I met you.
yeah.
Not that you've got a ton now, but you're into it more
Yeah,
now. And I think,
definitely.
I don't know, I think you're more agreeable to that it stands for more than just I own a gun, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, just seeing the way the world went, and how crazy shit got. I was like, yeah, it can't hurt to have a gun, or have more than one at least. You know?
You ever taken a woman to the range?
My wife, yeah.
They are vicious.
She's
Renee
pretty good. She's
outshot
pretty good,
us,
yeah.
I think. She's good, man.
Maybe
She's
you.
good.
She outshot you.
I outshot you, bitch.
You didn't.
Yes, I
You
did.
didn't, bro.
You got 57. I got 58. Was
Bro,
that
you
it?
shot 62.
Shut up, you
This
idiot.
guy
That wasn't me.
did
That was
not.
Jesse,
Yes,
you
it
moron.
was. Yes, it
That was Jesse. No, it wasn't. That was not. And I beat you in the shootout at the end.
Have you ever guys done the tactical where you go
We
through?
haven't, but we
No,
just
yeah.
recently made. Actually, did you do it? Was that what you did with Renee last time, or that
No,
wasn't a tactical
no,
course?
it wasn't tactical.
We just kind of met a guy that taught the course. Great dude, and I'm sure we're going to be doing stuff with him in the future. He's just he makes you feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
you
there's
guys ever do paintball?
way back in the
Yeah.
day, way back when it first
Paintballs.
came out. Yeah.
Which one did you go to?
Well, now it's not paintball. People really don't do paintball much anymore. They do the airsoft because you can be so much more tactical with airsoft, right?
They're doing
Nah, people
airsoft
still do.
now?
Airsoft.
People still do paintball.
People do paintball, but airsoft because they
Is
set
it-
up.
I've been to
Remember?
skirmish in PA. You ever that one? That one's good.
That's
That one's
the good one.
Yeah.
They got like 8 different.
The castle one.
Yeah,
yeah
I didn't do the
that's
castle one.
Yeah.
What are you talking about though?
Yeah.
That's Jim Thorpe. I think they call that.
Yeah,
one.
yep,
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Paintball in the woods.
It's fun, man. It's fun. Yep.
That's the epitome of fun.
It is.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely is.
I miss that, man. My dad took me when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Really?
Well, I grew up on Schwarzenegger and Stallone
Oh,
movies,
yeah.
right?
Always.
So I always tell this story. Nobody ever believes me, right? I'm stuck by myself. I don't know how I got frayed from the team. And there's this dude approaching. And, paintball, like if it hits brush, it's going to break, right? So the dude's coming towards me. And I'm rolling on the ground. But I only picked this movie up from like a Van Damme movie. So I'm rolling on the ground shooting, like rolling and shooting. And I take the guy out rolling, shooting.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I was like,
walked out of there with a little swag after that. Yeah.
My chest was out the air.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember this one time where they have these, something you can just like sit behind, like a little barrier. So there's 2 guys sitting behind a barrier, and I'm like, cover me. And the dude starts shooting, and they duck, and I just haul ass, and I run, and I'm like, freeze, motherfucker! Because you can't shoot at close range.
Oh, yeah.
But if you approach somebody, they have to give up.
yeah,
They got to put their muzzle in. the cap and the muzzle.
Right.
Man, I was
Yeah.
badass at paint.
Have you guys ever done airsoft? I never got into it, but
Nah.
I had an airsoft gun when I was a kid, but
Okay.
I've never done.
never.
Yeah, my kid had one. I mean, it freaking was like all fully automatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
a semi-auto.
Yeah.
You got to put
Yeah.
the gas in it.
Yeah. What did it?
Well, I'm sure it's got to be CO2.
Yeah,
Mine
yeah.
was BB. I'm sorry, mine was BB.
Oh, you had a BB gun.
I
Yeah.
had a
yeah.
CO2 BB. Yeah.
No, this. Yeah,
Handgun.
yeah. This.
Yeah.
No, it's battery.
Oh,
this is
battery. Yeah,
battery.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh, that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're right. Like,
So what do you like? You can go to. Is it indoors or outdoor?
they probably
I think
do both,
both.
but most are
Both.
indoor. I think. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And they set them up very tactically. You know what I mean?
But how
I
do you
need
know if you get
outdoors.
hit like with paper? Or you
There's
can
a
see
guy. There's a guy that walks like a
it?
judge.
How does he know?
Well, you,
A little tiny ball hit you.
because if you can actually like YouTube videos of this, because if you fucking lie and you say that you didn't get hit and you clearly got hit, they'll just mag dump on you like 1 foot away. You piss people off. They take that shit seriously. Like if you know you were hit and people see clearly you were hit and you don't fucking like say hit, you know what I mean? They just come up to you like 1 foot away and just mag dump at you.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
people get pissed because you're labeled a cheater at that point and you're not welcome back. You know, so it's like one of those insider things where you don't want to be a cheater. You know, what I mean?
That's what's wrong with boys in America these days, man. They don't play sports.
Right.
They don't fight. And they don't play sports.
Yeah, Candace Owen has a whole thing on that, like bring back strong men, right? That's what America needs, is a strong man. And I agree. You
But
know?
I think you have to do it through sports. Like boys have to be
Yeah.
involved in a sport.
Agreed.
I agree.
You know,
man.
if you have a boy and he's a complete geek and he's never been involved with sports, you are hurting him tremendously.
I totally agree.
You are making it so that women will never be attracted to him.
Totally agree.
Like you're looking at your son, you're like, oh, he's a geek, he's a good boy. Well, I don't want women want him because he's never played a sport.
Yeah.
So he's
it
never.
starts there for sure.
And honestly,
for
man,
sure.
I honestly believe like Toms River is a big town. It's actually the 8th biggest town in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
You know, a lot of kids. Sports keep kids fucking straight, man.
Yeah.
Kids that don't do sports, they always end up fucked up.
Because it takes up so much free time, right? When
Yeah.
when you're out of school, like if you play a sport, you pretty much go directly to that sport.
Well,
if you don't,
yeah.
you're getting into trouble. You know,
But I mean, more.
the physicality.
Well, not even. No. What it does for your brain.
Yeah.
The physicality, we know what it comes with. So it's different types of sports, right? So you got the 1v1, that's your wrestling and your boxings, right? And then you got your team sports. How do you even understand the hierarchy of men without a team sport? Right?
Yeah.
There's a certain hierarchy when you come onto a team and you know the next kid is better than you and you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? And then it's like, okay, this kid's better than me. That's the best kid on the team. I'm going to go in the garage and I'm going to practice and I'm going to get to the next level. That competitiveness.
Yep.
How do you have that without sports, right? The physical aspect comes in because you might have a geeky kid who's getting that from chess. And I think that's I love chess. I teach my kids chess. And you'll get that. But the physicalness is the other part of it, where you have to learn to get hit and to hit.
Right.
Like you have to be able to deal with that, right? When you fall on the ground and
Absolutely.
you get back up
Yep.
and you don't bitch about it, right? And then, okay, well, I'm gonna catch him on the next play.
Right.
That's part of being a man. And a lot of young men don't have that. And you wonder why the world is the way it is. It's because you ain't put your kid in no sport, soccer, football, basketball, something. You got to learn to deal with that punishment and how to dish it.
I say this, and I'm including even though it's horrific to even think about, but I'm including my son, who's only 6. I certainly don't mean now, but every boy should get punched in the face once. You know what I mean? It kind of teaches you what the character of your merit of your character,
What is-
rather.
you know
what
what
I
it
mean?
teaches you?
What?
That getting punched ain't so fucking bad.
Right.
You know what
I
mean?
agree.
That's what
I
teaches
agree.
you.
I agree.
This is true.
Yep.
This is true. Yeah. When I was younger, I'm not a violent person. Let me just first say that. I got a lot of fights when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I was the only black kid in a town full of Italian kids. You know what I mean? Italians ain't messing around either. You know, they're going to throw some blows.
Yeah.
So I had to fight my way all the way up. You know what I mean? But it made me a man. It made me who I was. And then you grow up, you see them same Italian kids, you guys shake hands like, yo, we was kids. You know what I mean? It's, it's no love lost.
Right.
But you need that. You know, if you ain't never got punched in the face, you ain't lived.
Yep. I agree.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
It started in the hood though. I had older girl cousins. They used to whoop my ass. Oh man, my worst beatings was from my own family. Yeah. But you got to get hit, man. You got to get hit.
I agree.
You know, and then you got to learn to deal with that and then hit back.
You're gonna dig down deep and figure out who you are real fucking quick. You know what I mean?
Real fast, yeah. And so then when you look at politics today and why it is, it's because you got a bunch of dudes running around and ain't never been hit.
Never been hit. Yep.
That's what
I mean, now they're trying to make like even words like the same thing as getting hit. That's what they're trying to do.
So look at that, right? If you never been punched before, obviously words gonna hurt your feelings.
Yeah, right.
If you've been punched before, you like, look,
hey,
these words ain't shit.
Yeah, as long as you didn't hit me.
But we are the that's why I'm the way I am though. We're the only country in the entire world that is words are protected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's scary. This is a slippery slope when they start delving into that. You know?
Yeah, I'm the weird cat that when Elon took over that night, it was a Thursday night. And I was giving out N-word passes. I'm like, yo, can y'all say the N-word so we can see how much freedom we got on the platform? You know, because it's not going to hurt my feelings. I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like over that whole
Frankie,
thing.
you can do it. I'll take a pass.
Yeah. You got the 3% tattoo, bro. Come on.
You got to do it.
What, that was racist?
You're the token racist here.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I need those boundaries to be pushed to the edge.
Right.
Like when I looked at the Ye situation,
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with Ye, and I don't agree with Ye, but I need somebody to push those boundaries to the edge so we can see how much can we get away with.
Hey,
you know?
I'll be, honestly, Kanye made Alex Jones blush.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That
never thought that was
that
I
takes
know.
a lot. It
It
takes
does,
a lot.
man. It does.
Alex was like, wait, what's going on here? I've never seen it. It made me mad. I'm like, damn, I should have did that.
But I mean, you'll see an interview with him, and I'll be like, I can get down with that. And then you'll see the next interview, like, I don't fucking know that guy. I don't know what the fuck he's talking. You know what I mean? It's crazy. How do you feel about Kanye?
He's obviously. I mean, look, he's a fucking crazy artist.
Yeah.
That's what he is to me. And obviously, he's manic and shit. He's obviously sick in certain ways.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean, bro, yeah.
Nah, he's not.
No.
I agree with you. I don't think he is. There's a method to his madness.
You don't think he's manic?
Nope.
No.
Nope. You know how I know?
You think that even after that story about his trainer saying, we got to get you on meds and all, you read that story about the trainer that he had? Well, anyway, read it. I can't. I'm not.
Oh yeah, you got
to
to read that story about the trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had Mac Miller was under his
yeah,
a whole bunch of people,
and he made him believe that he's going crazy, and he got him to take medication and all this, and then he just got off it and said, and then he outed the guy and fucking. Started publicly showing the text between the two, and the guy was saying, "Look, if you don't do what I tell you."
I didn't know that. I thought that was Kim or something.
So
like
I read things like that, and I'm like, well, I mean, okay, like it's starting to make sense now. They're trying to label this guy as crazy, and then he'll go on Alex Jones show, and I'm like, holy fucking shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to feel about him.
I identify.
He's in Hollywood, so I feel bad for him already.
Yeah. But I identify with Ye. I've always identified with Ye because I've always been counterculture, right? So, when you ask some of my buddies from high school, they'll tell you, like, I could have hung with the cool kids, but I hung with the geeks, right? Because I'm a geek, naturally, but I didn't like the fakeness that came along with being cool, right? It was like, I just saw you talk shit about him and you're hanging with him, like I ain't dealing with none of that. But I've always been counterculture, right? So in my high school, when everybody was rocking a certain style of dress, I went the opposite side. Senior year of high school, I was wearing loafers, khakis, and button-ups. Everybody was wearing like a hip-hop type look. I always wanted to be counterculture. So when I saw Ye come about, I'm like, oh, he's counterculture like me. Like if everybody goes left, I got to go right. I never wanted to be like other people, right? So when hip hop was all about, selling cocaine and shooting drugs, he comes out with a pink polo. You know what I mean? Like everybody's wearing jerseys and he's wearing a pink polo. So I'm like, I like this guy's counterculture. He's being himself, right? He's not afraid to go against the grain. And I've always gone against the grain. So then when I've been with Ye since day one. So now when I see him and he does the White Lives Matter thing, I'm like, okay, more counterculture. Okay. Now that he goes this other way, I ain't gonna say nothing about it.
Yeah.
It's counterculture.
Right.
Right? So he's not crazy. He's just consistently been counterculture. And really what it comes down to was we're afraid. I have to think this through more, but I have a fear of being controlled. And when I feel like culture keeps you in a box, you have this instinct to just break out the box. Like, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to think that way, right? So like people will call me, black conservative. I'm not a black conservative, but but like I don't have to vote for Biden. I can be black and like Trump. I got my new MAGA hat on the way. I'm rocking that on my podcast. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm gonna do it anyway, right? Like, so I get what it means to be counterculture. So when I see Ye and people think he's crazy, I'm like, no, he's just counterculture. If y'all going left, he going right. It's just that it. He's not crazy. He's very calculated. He knows what he's doing.
I think so. I do.
I wish.
I'm not saying I'm down with everything he says. I would never say that, but I do think I don't think he's crazy. I really don't at all.
I don't like the new turn he took. Where he's taking an attack on Jewish people. I don't like that.
The Hitler stuff was a little crazy.
Yeah. I think that's a little too counterculture.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a free speech absolutionist. Although I don't like it, I like the strategy of pushing the boundaries of free speech.
Sure.
I don't like that speech, but because I don't like that speech, I needed to push those boundaries because next time they come about and say it's a virus, I need the room to say, I don't believe what you're talking about. That came from bat soup.
I'm with you on that, and I've said it before. That's why I'm such a fan, advocate, whatever, of comedians, because they are the first line of defense. I feel like because they say the craziest shit, right, and they can get away with it because they label it as humor. We should call ourselves comedians because we could get away with a lot more.
Hey,
you are actually.
Did you see Dave Chappelle's SNL? I mean, he got away with being a comedian there, right?
A little bit. ADL still sent that letter.
Yeah.
But they definitely push the boundaries the hardest for free speech, and yes. I love it. I love that they do that. I never cringe when a comedian stands up and says something fucking crazy. I'm never like, oh, and you look around, you see other people like fucking just absolutely cringing. I'm like, this is what they do. Yeah. Thank God they do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need somebody to keep those boundaries as far wide as possible, man. Because the closer those boundaries we get, the closer we get to Stalin.
Correct.
Right? Like at some point, if you said something bad about Stalin, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening today.
But kids don't understand it. These kids today, you interview kids, on the street, New York, wherever, and you ask them, do you like communism? Do you think? And then, meanwhile, they've probably read very little about it, and they've had no first-hand experience of it, and they say, yeah, I'll take communism over capitalism. And you're like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, why? What is your reasoning there? And I just think kids today are like fed up, and they don't get it. They don't. They've never lived through adversity to understand the importance of the Constitution and what America was founded on and what we are. Like they're just confused youth. They seem to me.
Well, when you're inside the house, you don't know what the outside look like.
Right.
Right. So everybody is inside a house.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to venture outside the house to see what the outside of the house looks like and what other houses look like?
Right.
Because what they do is. They like to keep people in a bubble, right? And then people may notice that there's another bubble. So they'll say, okay, there's a Republican bubble and a conservative bubble. But until you go inside that house, you don't know what's in there, right?
Correct.
So what they do is they say, well, in there is danger. It stinks. It's white supremacists. It's just evil. So you don't leave your house to go knock on that door and say, hey, can I come in? You don't do that. But the minute you knock on that door, you ask to come in, and they're like, hey, want some tea? And you're like, wait.
When you say they, do you mean the educational systems? Because isn't that kind of where? No.
Media? Let's just talk about this politically, right? You got one house that is blue, and you got another house that's red.
Yeah.
The people in the blue house keep the people in the blue house, and they tell them that the red house is evil.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But the people in the red house grew up in the blue house. It's called school.
Right.
So we know what the blue house looks like on the inside, okay?
Right.
But the people in the blue house have never been in the red house because the red house don't control school and the institutionals, tech, media, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So they tell you, oh, this is evil. But then one day you're brave enough to venture outside the house and knock on the red door.
You're in that house right now.
Right. Exactly.
And you're welcome. You can have a seat on that couch anytime.
I
man.
love it. I love it in this house. The other house is wretched.
Yeah.
So you knock on the door and you're expecting them to say, go away, shut up, nigga. You know, and they go, would you like some tea or some coffee?
Yeah.
So immediately you're like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
Then you go inside and you look around and you see all these different things you never saw before, right? So you start seeing the other side of the argument of capitalism, the other side of the arguments of economics. You start diving into the studies of, like I said, Thomas Sowell. What they'll do is, Thomas Sowell's never been on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine. He's never been on the cover of any black magazine. He's one of the greatest black men to ever exist. You know, it's really funny when they say that white conservatives are racist, but Thomas Sowell is like their Jesus.
Yeah, I follow his. It's not he's not on Twitter, but he has an account on Twitter.
Right.
He's still alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he still come out with stuff?
No, he's retired.
He's retired.
Yeah. I think they might pull him out every once in a while, but I think he's retired, and I don't think he publishes columns anymore. But yeah, I think he's retired. He's an old man now. Walter Williams has passed away, but Walter Williams, like, blackest of black guys ever, and you won't hear any mention of it. You know, for example, I did this test, right? Like, my daughter was 16 at the time. She doesn't know anything about economics. She doesn't know anything about politics. And I played this documentary for her with Walter Williams, and he's arguing with some black liberals. And after it's done, I cut it off. I say, what do you think? She's like, I think those other people are idiots. And this guy right here seems to be making some sense. And she's pointing at Walter Williams. And I'm like, wow, like, you could recognize that conservatism is the more common sense approach to things, right? So I thought that was quite fascinating. But what they do is they know that if people actually look inside that house and get accustomed to what's inside that house, they never going back in this house. And they're going to lose people. So what they do is they tell you, that's the Wicked Witch of the East. Don't go over there. It's bad. You know?
Well, wouldn't Candace Owens be a good example of that? She was a pretty staunch Democrat until 2018, I think.
Right.
I mean, and look at her now.
16.
16? Was it 16?
She was
Okay.
never a Trumper, right?
Right.
And then she gets a glimpse, and all of a sudden she's like, wait, this isn't what I was told, right? And even me, right? Like, I've always been
Tulsi Gabbard, right? Another one. Didn't she flip?
I
no.
just seen some crazy stuff. About
Didn't she
her.
just flip to
What'd you
Republican
see?
or no? Wait, I see
that-
that look on your face. You know something I don't know.
I ain't saying that. What'd
I
you
just
see?
seen.
She's
I just
an
seen
insider.
something that, like, yeah, she's like her.
Uh-oh.
Her father, something with her father. Her
Yeah.
father, some guy that might be influencing some stuff, and
Uh-oh.
and she's
Really?
she's like an actor maybe type thing.
Uh-oh.
I ain't saying nothing.
must
All
hit
right.
the chord.
Tune in every Thursday. The Hotep's been told
Before we forget, please tell everybody where they can find you.
you. Yeah, every Thursday, 8 p.m., Hotep's been told you. It's like you get that raw barbershop talk from Uncle Hotep is like PA, black conservative, very, I'm gonna just say it, he's more white than me. He say he blacker than me, but he not, okay? But I definitely grew up more white than him, so I see why people say I am. But I'm more like, I take up for black people, and he like, nah, niggas got, you know what I mean? So we have these like arguments, but you still get the truth, right? Like, we're still gonna call it straight down the middle. So it's very raw, very candid.
So he ran with the Hotep name too, both of you guys?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I like
A
it.
lot of people do though, no?
Yeah, we got a whole crew.
You got a crew, right? Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of Hoteps out there. Yeah. We're growing. It's a very big community. But you know, we give it to you 90s style. Like, you remember what Beavis and Butthead was like, and South Park and The Simpsons, and you know, it was raw. Like, nobody got their feelings hurt. So that's what you get when you watch our show. So I've given my opinions on Tulsi Gabbard. exclusively in my show because we only got a small amount of viewers, so I can kind of keep it contained. And I don't want to hurt, because I know you guys got a large audience. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
Someone lied to you. Someone lied to you.
You know,
We listen. It's maybe just a theory, but we think we get throttled down a lot because of our points of view. You know what I mean?
I know we get throttled.
We definitely believe that. You know.
Yeah,
so.
we definitely get throttled. You got on Rumble?
Yeah.
Just got on Rumble. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Rumble. You can definitely tell us.
Yeah.
You can tell how throttled you are on YouTube by your
By going to
Rumble
Rumble.
numbers.
Yeah.
Because it's like you get half the amount of viewers, but more engagement is like really weird. But yeah. Yeah, so Tulsi, you found some stuff out about Tulsi?
I seen some stuff, and I'm listening to her. She seems like she's along the lines of someone that makes sense, but does she have an agenda? Is she pushing some other issues? I don't know.
I'm gonna tune in and check that episode out now.
Yeah.
I'm interested of your thoughts on her.
But
so.
I mean,
she looks good on paper.
She does look good on paper. But my point is, what they do is they don't show you both sides of the coin. And you have a lot of people out here who have formed opinions without seeing all sides, right? So I had a moment where I was like, I want to talk to white nationalists. Don't tell me what they think. Let me talk to them. I want it from the source. What's your beef, bro? And then I hear it. I'm like, oh, you ain't got no problem with me, huh? Okay. This is great. Now we're getting somewhere, right? So, they want you to be afraid. They want.
Well, you said at the beginning of the
dialogue.
show, be proud of your heritage and be proud of your race. I mean, are some of the white nationalists just doing that? I don't know. I've never interviewed one. I have no clue. But are they just proud of their race, proud of their heritage, and or do they hate other ethnic groups? Or at least the experience you had.
I'm going to refrain from saying what I learned from them.
Roger, why don't you tell us?
You're the one with the 3% tattoo. You goddamn white nationalist. You're white supremacist. Why don't you call me a nigga right now? God damn it.
Oh, shit.
Nah, but like, I heard them.
You guys got a bad understanding of what 3% means, but all right, carry on.
Well, I'm a 5%.
Yeah. Frankie's a 1%er.
But yeah, what they do is they just cut off dialogue. They stop people from talking to each other. They stop your average Democrat from coming to somebody with a MAGA hat on. For example, I told people, I said, would you feel safer with a MAGA hat on at a Black Lives Matter rally or at a MAGA rally with a Black Lives Matter hat on? Where would you feel safer? And everybody goes, I'm definitely going to the MAGA rally with the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Because if you go to the Black Lives Matter place with the MAGA hat on, you ain't coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that tells you right there.
Good point.
Do the experiment.
Yeah.
I'm daring all the listeners out there.
No, I'm not going to do that experiment.
Well, just pick up a Black Lives Matter hat and go to a MAGA rally and see what happens. And then you tell me who's racist and you tell me who's violent.
Right. Yeah. 100% there.
Because you can go to a MAGA rally with a Black Lives Matter. You're going to have some people that won't talk to you. You're going to have that. But you will not be attacked.
I think the biggest, kind of eye-opener to the whole Black Lives Matter thing is that it only seems to be relevant every 4 years. That should be a real that should be like an eye-opener to people. They should be like, has anybody heard of that since last election? Because you really don't hear of it. You just hear stories about, $20 million mansions being bought, and then you don't hear much about the movement until the next election, and then you hear about it again. It's kind of suspect, so suspect.
Black men only get killed by the police every 4 years. That's really what it comes down to. Every 4 years, they roll us out.
Yeah.
Time to start reporting on the Black Death. Wow. It's just like, oh, okay, must be election season.
I know, but I mean, how can that not be a red flag, right? Like, I mean, you got to think, like, if it's that important, we'd be talked about all the time.
We haven't heard a single case this year.
No.
Not one single
You
one.
will.
Wow.
The next election. You
We got
will.
2 more years, and I'm going to have to stay away from police.
Yeah. All right, so here's my question. DeSantis or Trump 2024?
Trump.
Okay. All right.
Trump.
Why? Give me reasons why.
Let me think of the safe answer.
Yeah, we're already shadow banned. Say whatever you want. Don't matter. They shadow banned.
All right,
us.
I'm going to say the unsafe answer. it's too many establishment people supporting DeSantis for me to trust DeSantis. I feel like Trump is the organic populist. But when I see like Republicans and certain like influencers, we call them grifters. Shout out to the grifties.com. We have the award show, the Grifties, where we award all the grifters. But the grifter class, aka the influencer class, seems to be turning on Trump, and they're going towards DeSantis, which lets me know that some donor dollars have shifted. And I'm like, oh, so DeSantis is the establishment pick and Trump is the people pick. I'm going with the people guy.
Ride or die.
Yeah. I've been a Trump guy since 2016, and I ain't deviating. Unless Ye cut me in check. If Ye cut me in check.
2024.
Have you ever met him?
Who?
Trump.
Oh, no. No, I have not met Trump. Trump.
That would be a great interview. I would love that because you seem like you dive deep, you know.
Me and Trump would have a great time.
I think so.
We would have a fucking fabulous. I love the guy. I really fucking love Trump, man. You know, people give him hell for the, you know, he pushed Operation Warp Speed and all of that stuff.
Listen, I can understand if you vote on personality. I get why you don't. I get it 100 times over. I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of his personality, but if you're a policy person, it's a tough argument for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough argument why you wouldn't be a fan of his policies, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really voting off of personality.
You are?
Yeah.
You are. Not what I expected you to say.
Nah, I'm going.
Why is that? I love that he calls out fake news. I do love that. Because I used to just eat it. Okay. That's what's that. Now I watch everything and I'm like, that's probably the opposite of what's going on. You know what I mean?
Trump winning the first time showed us, like, you know, they said a rumor of like every president is related, like even George Bush is related to Obama.
Yeah.
And Trump is the one guy that's not part of the system. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he won. So that just shows like our democracy kind of works if he won. But then
it hasn't worked
in
since.
2020, they kind of yanked that from us.
He's in the room, but he's not at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, is that the way it's going to be moving forward? Are we never gonna win a fucking election now?
If our crazy friend Jesse was here, he'd say he's still the president.
Yeah, he's still the president.
He's the 18th president.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jesse's awesome, but he's a little crazy.
When he said fake news,
listen. You guys got Yee, we got Jesse. Okay.
Jesse who?
He's a good friend of the show, but he's a dear friend of ours. But
big conspiracy.
We bring him on all the time, and he's fucking out there. But we love him. If all the shit he says turns out to be true, we owe that dude a big apology because we're always ripping on him.
Nah, you know, I just think, you know, Trump was closest thing to real.
Yeah.
You know, when I see those guys get up there and they act perfect, I can't trust somebody who acts perfect. Like, to me, you know, I had family members that were like, you know, Trump's bad, and I'm like, you want Pence? Because if you get rid of Trump, you get Pence next. And if you think Trump's bad, Pence is way too perfect for me to trust. Like, he is the perfect politician. Like he checks off all the boxes for a politician.
Right, but that was the best choice to pair with Trump. Like, that was the best choice?
Well, yeah. Well, I wouldn't have paired him with Trump. But from a professional perspective, from a resume perspective, like, Pence is the perfect politician.
Right, but Trump seems like the type of guy that wouldn't accept anything that he doesn't want, and I know how politics works. I mean, we've had some that, you know, you're driven by a whole team that tells you what to do, right? And that team is really the one that drives the campaign, and it's not you, it's not the guy, but I'm surprised that Trump would be accepting of anybody less that was not on his team and supported his agenda fully, you know?
If I was president, I would want Pence as my VP.
You would?
Absolutely.
Because he's a yes man, or because he just looks the part, or
you need, in order to be in the swamp, you need somebody with swamp experience.
Okay.
Now, how you pull the information out of him is a different story.
Okay.
Plus, he seemed a little like Trump was a recluse. This guy's like real straight, walks the line, you know.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah.
Maybe you needed that balance, you know, maybe.
You need that balance, right? But if I were to run, I need people who've done this before, who've been on the Hill for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to decipher when I'm going to listen to them and when I'm not, right? And Trump, with lack of experience, it's kind of hard to do that perfect all the time, right? But for me, with Trump was, I just needed somebody that represented America. America is the asshole of the world. Let's just call it what it is. Our personalities are brash, they're crass, they're unpolished. And so why do we have somebody representing us that doesn't act like us?
Yeah, that is true.
Right? Like, give me somebody who's going to get on stage and do the thing that's not politically correct. Oh,
It makes it a little easier that we're from the New York, Jersey area, because
It
that's the everyday life. Right?
That's- yeah.
My people back home are like, holy shit, what'd that guy say? You know what I mean?
yeah, I identify with that. But
Yeah.
to me, it's a matter of trust.
Right.
When you appear too perfect, I can't trust you because you're hiding something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I need you to curse. I need you to do some drugs or something. Like, come over. Like, do this line of cocaine. Let me see. Okay, I can trust you. All right. Smoke this weed. Let me see. Have a drink. Like, when you're too perfect,
Something's up.
Something's up.
You're a plant. Yeah.
You're a plant. You're a fed. That's why you always see, like, when you're dealing with gangs, and then somebody comes in and they make them do some weird shit. It's like, because I need to trust you. It's not because we do coke. It's just because I need to know you're not an op.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with Trump, I felt as though he was being himself. And that, to me, regardless of all the bad decisions he made and all the good decisions he made, I'm rocking with the dude being himself. That's why I like, he's being himself. He's not putting on the front. I've never been one to put on the front. I try to be the best version of myself, be a little bit more polished. But every once in a while, I'm a cuss. Every once in a while, see me smoke. I remember one time, I was in Miami, and I've been drinking all day. It was open bar at the Bitcoin conference. And I asked somebody for a cigarette. And my camera guy was like, Hotep, you smoke cigarettes? Oh, I'm so disappointed. Because he thinks like I'm some perfect individual.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you got to get over yourself, dog. I'm about to smoke this cigarette, and I might have another one. But when I drink, I like to have a cigarette. I don't buy packs, right? I'm not out here.
Hey, you're an adult.
I used to be that way, and then they said you got to go outside to smoke, and it gets real cold in New Jersey in the wintertime. I'm like, I ain't fucking standing out in 30 degrees just because I want a cigarette. So I haven't had one in 20 years, but
I have a cigarette sometimes, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. Like sometimes I just need a little bit of something to cut the edge off. Like, I'm not perfect.
Right.
One thing I have cut back on was the weed. I felt that was really holding me back. I'm gonna ask you for some weed before we leave tonight. I want to smoke something with you.
I'm intrigued. What do you mean by holding you back? How? Because nobody smokes more weed than this guy over here.
I play chess.
Okay.
And when I smoke weed, I drop 100 points in my rating.
Really? So now when you play, I played chess in college a little bit with a couple of my teammates, but I don't play much. I know how to play, not good at all.
Yeah.
You play time chess?
Yeah.
On your phone?
Well, on the computer, but sometimes on the phone.
Yeah.
I train on my phone, but I'm in the chess club, but I usually play on the PC.
I got a buddy that plays on the phone all the time.
Yeah. But weed, marijuana, flower, it ruins your short-term memory, right?
That's so what I saying that. I've been saying that. I was like, yo, my long-term memory is money. I said, so if I forget in 10 years, I'll fucking remember.
You will remember. Your long-term memory is intact.
You remember you said that because you said it like 3 weeks ago.
I guess so. Yeah.
But it's also the speed, right? Like you said, time chess. You kind of need the speed. So I actually created a herbal product. It's called Master Focus.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Trymasterfocus.com. And I designed that for chess players because we need focus, we need concentration, and we need it now, we need it fast. And since I've been on it, my productivity's been up, my mood has been way up.
Is that
it's like a nootropic?
Yeah, it's a nootropic. Yeah.
All herbal?
All herbal.
Yeah.
I didn't do any isolates or extracts. Yeah, so it's 100% herbal, 11 different herbs. Mushroom seeds and roots. I'm Hotep, the African community, we do all herbals, right? So it's 100% herbal, but it's because like my chess score means everything to me. My rating means everything to me, and I noticed that I was more creative. So if I get high, I have more fun playing chess, but I lose more games. And really, what it comes down to is you come to a point in the game where the amount of variations increases. So right out the gate, you kind of know how you want to play. Then it reaches a moment of inflection where it's just like, okay, there's this variation, that variation, this variation, that variation, right? So what happens is you calculate a variation, then you forget it because you're high. So now you got to recalculate it. And then you forgot the other two variations, so you're recalculating everything all over again. By then, you done lost 5 minutes on the clock.
But you're having fun.
But you're having fun. But honestly, I just didn't have, I'm not as rich as Mr. Edgar here.
Nobody is. Guy's fucking loaded. I'm going to be his pool boy when he moves to Texas.
So I need to put more hours in. And I just didn't have time for that daily nap that comes along with, smoking herb. You got to have that nap midday, right?
Yeah.
Frankie, even you as active, this guy's got like ADD. Even as active as you are, you nap during the day?
When I fight, when I training camp, I do, but no.
No?
Yeah,
I need a
training
nap.
camp. I nap.
Yeah, like when I come down, I need to lay down. You know what I mean?
I just re-up again. Or
that's the alternative, right?
Yeah.
You got to go back up, right? And then what happens is my tolerance isn't there anymore, and then so now it's more like I'm a social smoker, So I just went to Cali. Yeah, I hit the
Cali,
moon.
you gotta hit the dispensary out there.
Got to.
Yeah.
You got to, right? But yeah, so that's the only reason why is, mostly because of my income and chess. Yeah.
Actually, I just did Brendan Schaub's podcast, Fighter and the Kid, and the Food Truck Diary. And when I was out there, Ricky Williams was out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He lived it.
Yo, he owns a weed company called the Heisman.
Yes.
The Heisman.
That's fucking
he
great,
gave me some
bro.
samples.
Yeah.
And he has a pre-game, a halftime, and a post-game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that marketing.
I mean, I think everybody kind of sort of knows the Ricky Williams story, but he gave up like how many millions in a
Oh, I don't know, but a lot of millions just because he wanted to
smoke weed.
Yeah, it was
That's
for his
crazy.
mental health. And now anybody can. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Yo, let me tell you something. I used to get high and play basketball. Now that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sports, it is an enhancement drug in some cases because I done thrown some wild turnovers being high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I've also played some of my best games high.
When you could just let go, right?
You kind of just let go when everything is just on flow. You're
Yeah,
all
the flow
everything's
state, right?
just intuitive.
Flow state, that's it. Boom.
Yeah, you're in flow state. So like I've like made passes just some Magic Johnson type stuff that I wouldn't have done sober. But I also probably played a better game sober because I didn't have as many turnovers. But those creativity moments wouldn't have come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The highlight reel looks a lot better.
The highlight reel looks amazing when you're high. Oh my God. But also I think it's a tool. So when I need to come up with a marketing plan, I get high. I go to dispensary. When I need to be creative, I go straight to dispensary.
Yeah.
And I get high. And I sit down. And this is why I tell people, I'm like, yo, don't just get high as recreation. Like, use that shit because you're tapping into another part of your brain. You're activating the right part of your brain. And I practice this thing called 50 ideas. And I forget where I got it from. But then I just take the paper and just write down 50 ideas. And then once you get flowing, like, but the thing is, you forget everything. That's why you gotta write it.
Yeah, you gotta write it down.
And you gotta write it down fast.
I don't get high, and I do that now.
There you go.
I literally, if I think of something, I just put a little like starter note enough to get the brain moving and be like, oh yeah, I know what I want. You know what I mean?
But
I do that.
that's good you say 50 notes to get you right because I mean, I'm not a creative guy. I'm just not that built like that, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm into music. I fucking did a stand-up set this past summer.
Nice.
I acted in a movie. So I'm into trying some things, but I'm not very naturally creative.
Yeah.
But I hear, like you say, once you start writing, it just gets you writing, you know?
Yeah, you kind of get the flow. It's like after the first idea comes out, like they just like keep coming, and it's very rare you have a pause. But what I always tell people too is when you write down ideas, like explain the entire idea, because when you come back later, you're like, what was I talking about?
No, if I know it's something I'm going to struggle with, I'll write the whole thing out. But if it's something like, oh, I got that, I'll just start it and be like, so
yeah.
So one of the things in my notes that I wrote down and I saw on your Instagram, and I related to it. You know what I mean? Because most of us are in relationships, right? I mean, I'm about to get out of mine and into one with your sister, but laws of compensation. You know what I mean? You talked about it, and I was like, man, that hits home. You know what I mean? So can you explain a little bit about that? But it made a lot of sense to me. You can't always take, right? You got to give.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think I'm guilty of taking and not giving enough. I don't think I'm horrible, but I definitely don't think I give enough sometimes.
Yeah, this exists with Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams too in economics. They said there's always exchanges in economics. You give up something, it's going to be replaced by something else, right? So that to me is a spiritual law. It's a natural law. Where there is space, something is going to fill the void, right? If you have a box and you create a vacuum in the box, once you open the box is going to be filled with air and other, right? So the same thing goes throughout our lives. So I always practice the law of compensation, where if I take, for example, I'll never ask somebody for anything unless I can give something back. And this is also a great rule of negotiation, right? Like, I read this one book from Harvard in negotiation, and it's like the person who has nothing to give back always loses a negotiation. If you're the one asking, you're always going to lose a negotiation. So it goes back to the law of compensation, right? But, I just believe that when you take something, you got to put it back, right? And once you have relationships where people aren't putting back and they're always taking, that's when you sort of have this imbalance. Yeah. So what I do is I lead with giving, right? So I make a conscious effort to give to people whatever it is, and begin our relationship like that. And I don't consciously see if they receive, but you'll notice. I don't consciously see if I receive back from them, but you'll notice, like, wait, hold on, this relationship isn't being reciprocated. Like, I've been giving, and he hasn't given anything back, right? But the law of compensation exists in a whole bunch of places. So I'm not exactly sure what you saw on my Instagram.
I just related it to personal relationships. I'm sure it exists in every facet of life. You were saying finance, all those things, but I was like, oh, it kind of hit home. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes I think I can be like a little guilty of saying, like
you always take it, you never give it. Yeah.
Huh? So I for example, getting laid, right? When guys go on vacation, when you go with the mindset to get laid, you don't get laid. But when you go with the mindset of, I want to have fun, you just
That's true.
end up getting laid, right?
That's true.
So the same thing happens when you deal with women. We go into the relationship with these selfish desires. And I don't know, subconsciously, etherically, spiritually, they pick up on that. Or maybe you're just not the same person. But when you go into a relationship, you go on a first date with a woman and you say, look, I just want to make sure she has a good time. She throws you the box.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have to try. It's kind of crazy, right? And that's why I tell dudes, like, yo, don't try to get the box. Just have fun, right? And that's part of the law of compensation, where if you lead with wanting to take, chances are you won't get nothing.
Yeah.
But if you lead and say, yo, I want to make sure when this lady sits across from me at the table, she has a good time. She knows I was a cordial individual, right? And I cared about her emotions. I cared about her feelings. Now, I'm not saying be a simp and just like be taking bitches out on dates, because we're not doing that shit. You kind of you have to have a certain level of finesse to know when a girl is finessing you. Okay, so if you don't know that, that's advanced homie talk. We got to talk about that later. But for the dudes that know, because most of the time, if a girl's on a date with you, she's already ready to give you the panties, right? We just know that. So if she's sitting across from you, you actually don't have to try. She's already decided in her mind that you're a go. Otherwise, she wouldn't have showed up. So all you got to do is just be pure here.
Yeah.
Right? and say, look, are you okay? Open the doors, all of that stuff. And I think if we lead like that, even with our homie relationships, everything just sort of comes to homeostasis and everything just seems to just work out. That's how I lead my life. I don't think about taking from people. I think about, how do I give back in this world?
Sure.
And then by default, like, just great shit happens to me. I don't know.
Women, the minute you think you have women figured out, to just start over, because you never do. But I do agree with what you say, and when you have a girl, you have to do that because you have to make them feel special, right? But I also think they like a challenge. They don't want, as you put it, a simp. Once they know they have you, then they're like, this is too easy. They want a little pushback. We were talking about it today. They like a little pushback. Otherwise, they're like, well, this
both
guy.
Sides.
Guy
Both sides do though.
This person, yeah, I do. I like a little pushback.
You absolutely have to give some pushback, but you can give pushback without giving pushback, right? So, for example, a woman tests you. She's going to make the conversation sexual at some point. And she's going to see if you feed into that.
It's getting awkward for me now because your sister's...
Right? Like, I was having a conversation with a woman once, and she asked me, what kind of women do I like? And, Eastern African or Western African? I was like, I prefer Western African women. And she was like, why? And I just said, I think the reason why I like them is probably inappropriate for this conversation. Right? And she goes, why? No, tell me. I'm like, no, trust me, it's inappropriate for this conversation. She's like, is it their butts? And I just laugh, right? But she knows it's because West African girl got butt ass. You know what I mean?
I learned something today. I didn't know that.
Oh, my Lord Jesus. They are built different, right? And then the East African girls, they're more slender, taller. Their facial phenotype is different. And they, I think they're like, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. They're prettier, but the West African girls, the West African girls are pretty too. I ain't going to hold you. They just look different, right? But the West African girls' bodies, you just like, yo, shorty in Somalia, I'm going to get right back at you. You know what I mean? I'm going to holler at Nigeria real fast. You know what I'm saying? Because when the lights go off, I'm going to enjoy that. Having discipline is what they're looking for.
Sure.
Right? When you establish discipline, it's not pushback, it's discipline.
Sure. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yep.
Yeah. Do you have discipline over your sexual aura? So even when they have conversations, text messages or whatever, and they want to push it sexual, there's a way to feed into it and not feed into it. You know what I mean? And I think that's just demonstrating discipline. And I think if you try to fake it, it doesn't work. You actually have to have sexual discipline and say, all right, you're bringing this conversation sexual, and I know it's because, one, you're probably testing me, and two, because you want to have sex. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having sex with you. But I don't have to feed into your little conversation for you to drop the panties. I'm a man. I'm disciplined in what I do. I'm focused on my work. I'm focused on my life. I'm focused on my goals. That alone is going to keep you attracted to me.
Right.
So when I walk you home, when I walk you to your door, you're going to be like, would you like some coffee? Mm-hmm. Because I demonstrated discipline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't exactly have to have pushback. You just have to have a certain level of discipline. And it comes off as pushback or hard to get. And that's why I tell dudes, don't try to play hard to get. Be a gentleman. Be disciplined. Women are naturally undisciplined. Okay? Where they have the ability to just have sex with whoever at any time. We don't have that ability, right? So because we don't have that ability, demonstrating restraint goes further with us.
Right,
Sure.
right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I say with gentlemen, guys, be a gentleman, and the women will come to you.
Yeah.
She'll just offer you.
No, that was great advice. I mean, if you go out with the mindset of I'm just going out to have fun, it's been my experience too. Usually, because you're the guy. There's every dude in the bar is fawning over the hot chick, right? And you're the dude that's not. So she's like, "Wow, wait, with this guy, I'm not pretty enough for this guy." And she ends up talking to you.
And she ends up talking to you, right?
So,
But your whole vibratory frequency is different,
right?
So there are forces at work that cannot be perceived physically or consciously. They're perceived subconsciously, or they're perceived at a etherical level or an unseen level, right? So radiomagnetic frequencies they're not radio, but are being admitted, and we can't perceive it at a certain level, but it's still being perceived in the body. So when a guy is horny and he's just in the spot looking to get laid, women don't know it, but they're picking up on that. But when you're the guy and you're just like, you're just bopping and you're just having a good time, girls feel safe around you because it's just like, I know he's not just here to get some draws. Like, this guy's just want to have fun, and girls just want to have fun, right?
Great song. Oh
yeah, great song. It came to my mind too when I said it. Girl, just want to have fun. Classic. So when you're just at the bar and you're having drinks and you're just vibing and you don't really care, and then the girl comes up and you guys, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. You definitely set tones that are easily readable just by body language, just by, it doesn't, I don't think it matters guy or girl. I mean, you pick up on that, you know what I mean? And you know intent. You get intent. Get intent very, very quickly in a situation. If you're aware, at least. I mean, I think most of us are. If you're not hammered out of your mind or something,
right?
You pick up intent right away. Just if a person never said a word, you could pick up intent.
Right, but the world today isn't safe for women.
Yeah.
Right, especially out in public. You got pedos, fucking human trafficking, and all types of shit.
I have a daughter. You have a daughter?
Yeah, two.
Well, and yours? Didn't you say 16?
She's in college now.
That's terrifying, man.
Terrifying.
I can protect mine because she never leaves my sight.
Yeah.
You got to be scared to death, man.
Oh, terrifying. Yeah. She's got a lesbian roommate, so hopefully she's taking good care of
her.
her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really. Wait, what were we talking about?
We're just talking about picking up auras around people. That you're surrounded by an aura, and you can.
No, women being unsafe. Right.
Oh, right.
So when women go out, their first priority is to come home safe, right? And the one thing women have always said to me is, "You make me feel so comfortable," and I think it just comes from I have a personality where I don't judge people. Like male, female, whatever, like the decisions you make, I don't judge you. I'm just like, well, how'd you come to that, right? Like, because I know there's some reason that led you there. You weren't born like the way you were. Something led you there, and it probably makes a lot of sense.
You don't just accept outcome. You want the full story. You want to dig deep. Yeah, I
can't judge you, right? Because we all grow, right? So women around me, they say I feel comfortable, and they tell me everything, right? Because I don't judge. But the fact of the matter is people want to feel safe around other people. And the faster a woman feels safe around you, the more likely she is to want to be intimate with you. So when you have the guy at the bar who's just there with sex in his eyes, he's probably a fucking rapist.
Take some notes here. Yeah, you're right.
But that's the vibe they get. They feel like, well, if I go home with him and I feel uncomfortable at a certain point because the mood gets awkward, is he going to force himself on me? Like, these are the things a woman's worried about, right? But if you're at the bar and you're just kind of cool and you're chilling, she feels safe around you. And it's very important for men to create safety for women, right? Like, I look at feminists, and to me, feminists are women who have been hurt by creepy guys. That, creepy uncle or some dude around them, right? So I see hurt women when I see feminists. Some man, their father left them. Somebody disappointed them.
Really? The new age feminist? That's what I see it more as some lesbian chick.
Have you ever seen an attractive feminist?
That's what I'm saying. It's not usually a man. Most of them are lesbians, aren't they? The new school ones. I mean, I very much support the feminist movement that was. The feminine movement now, to me, seems like they're just a bunch of man haters. They hate men.
But you have to go to the inception of feminism to understand modern day feminism.
Sure.
The inception of feminism has to do with the fact that women were unprotected.
Sure.
Voting rights was a minority issue. Women were getting beat,
right,
murdered,
right,
raped, treated like property. If you go look at Tammany Hall, New York City, I believe it was 1920s. Human trafficking by the dozens. Oh my God.
Really?
Look that up. Yeah, Tammany Hall, New York City, female trafficking, women trafficking. So feminism is rooted in the fact that women weren't safe. Now it's 3 basic archetypes today. Did you see it?
No, I was looking at something else.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you were looking it up like Jamie on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. No, that's our Jamie over there.
So, it's 3 archetypes of feminists, right? 1, my daddy left me, my boyfriend left me, my husband left me. 2, sexual abuse, domestic violence. 3, I'm unattractive and men never liked me. Right?
They seem to be the most vocal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the loudest. They're the ones I always hear.
Yeah. Because the women that have the real issue usually don't want to talk about it because they need therapy. Like they're really like hurting. You know what I'm saying? So they're there at the rallies, but you always see, the unattractive ones, right? Because they really don't have a reason to be there, right? But so when I look at feminism, I just see hurt women, right? But again, if boys played sports, the ugly woman would be attracted to the ugly boy because at least he got some manhood. She not even attracted to him. She like, yo, my lesbian friend got more masculine traits than him.
Yeah.
So that's why she don't got nobody to date. That's why she's alone outside of the whole dynamic of there's more women than men, right?
Yeah.
But she can't even find a man. That's whatever. Because ugly people belong with ugly people, fat people belong with fat people, et cetera, right? Yeah. It just is what it is.
Unless you got money, then ugly people can be with really hot chicks.
There you
Just
go.
gotta have money.
Money's the good equalizer.
That's
Money
the
is the
equalizer.
equalizer,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's colorblind, and it's a great equalizer with women.
Yeah. So, it just hurt women, right? But I think that just comes back to the fact that men have to do a better job protecting women. We got to do a better job calling out the dudes and our crew who don't respect women. I know we got locker room talk, right? But there's a certain level of the locker room talk we done went overboard. Right? You start talking about slipping shit in the chicks' drinks, or
Is that still a thing? I feel like that was like
well,
like roofies.
well, what about when a man says, "Let's get them drunk"?
Yeah, well, I guess it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. But at least that's more of a choice. They can say, okay, well, I know that I'm getting to that point. I could pump the brakes. Yes, maybe it's influence, but
it's
putting something in a drink, they had no choice in that matter at all.
That is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
It's levels, right? Like level 1,
Right.
she got drunk on her own. Level 2,
Or even if you're buying her drink, at least she still has to make she still has to pick that thing up. That's a informed decision she's making.
It's
if you
about
put something in that drink, that's totally.
it's about consent.
That's foul play.
It's
yeah,
about
yeah.
consent,
Right.
It's all about consent. So level 1 is she consented to you buying her drinks. Level 2 is she said, "Yo, I don't think I want another drink," and you're like, "One more."
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's different.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's level 3. You putting in a drink like
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to go to
That's
jail.
criminal.
For that.
Yeah, right,
you know what I'm saying.
right.
But if a girl says like, "Yo,"
But
I think
does
had,
that? Do you hear cases like that? Does that still happen? I mean, that used to
Look
be.
at fucking Bill Cosby, bro.
Yeah. That's,
Well, yeah, but that was fucking 20, 30 years ago. He was.
well,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he just got caught 5 years ago.
No, right. No. He was convicted and charged, but he was doing it.
No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm saying if that dude was doing it back then, people were doing
That's
it till
my-
now.
That's my
it was
point.
common back then.
Yeah.
But my point is, we know level 3 is wrong. Some men don't know level 2 is wrong, and that's why I want to say that, because there's men watching this podcast. I want them to know that, bro, you don't have to get her drunk to get her laid. You know what I'm saying? And you don't got to push her to that next shot. If you got to push her to that next shot to get laid, to me, you're a type of rapist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're a type of rapist. And, I know they do that stuff in college and all this stuff and all these different environments. And I get it. I understand it happens. But we have to know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
I think specifically young men, because they're experimenting, right? I think at our age, really, it's not that hard to get laid. You can if you really just want to get laid, you can go spend, Frankie, how much do you spend? You can get a prostitute. How much do you normally pay? No, you know what I'm saying? As a grown man, it's not that hard to get laid, but in that adolescent stage, young 21-year-old, 22-year-old, they don't really know what they're doing, and they're like, let's get this chick drunk, and they're figuring life out, and they're doing wrong shit. So they need that lesson.
If you play your cards right, she'll be telling you need one more drink.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
She'll be trying to rape your
Get your game up, fellas. Get your game up.
Get your game up. Yeah, get your game up, man.
Yeah.
Make them feel safe. If you make them feel safe, you make them feel comfortable, you treat them like a lady, everything works itself out, you know. Make them feel comfortable. If they're hungry, get them something to eat. If they need water because they've been drunk, get them some water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to have a very pleasurable experience. You don't want her waking up the next day and be like, what happened last night?
Yeah.
You don't want that. You want her to remember you was the bomb.
Right.
Yeah,
So she got a reason to text you back the next day.
Right,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Or tell her friends, you know what I
Or
mean?
tell a friend. Even better.
And I think we would all agree on that. I think all guys would agree. Like if you land the girl that night, you know, what does Rogan call it? Rogan's got a name for it. Fucking dick something. I forget what he calls it. But if you land the girl that night, like if you're really into her, like you're really attracted to her, right? Like you're like, oh my god, this chick is, and you go and you land it that night, you're not that into it anymore. You know what I mean? So like it's no. I don't think I've ever landed a chick in one night and actually dated her ever. I don't think so.
Really?
No. And that's not. I don't want to say that I don't respect her or anything like that, but I didn't get to know her enough to respect her.
The
You know what I mean?
first night that you met her.
If I meet a girl at a bar, we decide to go home together, and go ahead, Frankie, with your roofie jokes or whatever. But I go, you know, we have a fun time, whatever. Go home, land it, kill it, crush it, whatever, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, for me, it's because the challenge is gone.
I could see that.
I want the challenge. You
I
know
can
what I
see
mean?
that. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me before. Well,
What do you mean?
No, I'm lying. You're right. You're absolutely right.
It's the challenge. I want the challenge, and
you know what I've had?
Yeah.
I've had the girls that do the whole. So you know you might do like destination dates, right? Like that's the thing now. So you do a destination date, right? And it's like the first night they purposely don't do nothing, and they give you something the second night.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like, I still like you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I guess like she knows that you're right.
Yeah.
Like if I do it the first night,
Right.
you're not going.
And even the girls that do it the first night, the first thing they say is, "I've never done this
done it
before." Yeah, right.
Right.
It's like that big, whatever, bitch.
Yeah.
So, but
nah, you're probably right. Yeah.
it's not a disrespect thing. It's not like I'm running around. I've never been that type of guy. I've never been that guy. Like I got to go tell my friends. I've never been like that bragger dude. But for me, it's just like the challenge is kind of gone. I want that chase. I like the chase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like thinking a girl's just out of my league and I can get her. I like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, I had something ruin my life, man. I ran into 3 women on the beach, and they were taking pictures. So my pickup line was, "Hey, let me take some pictures for y'all, you know, so y'all don't got to take your own pictures." Small talk. We end up in the pool. My dick ends up out in her hand. It was all her. Let's keep this clear. And she yells at her friends, "Yo, we got one." I'm like, what the fuck? So we go up to the hotel room, and they're like getting dressed and undressed and putting on like night clothes and shit like that. I didn't know it. I was being set up. And the girl says to me, you know, "Here's a picture of my boyfriend and my baby." So I'm looking at a picture of her boyfriend and her baby, and I'm like, you just had your hand on my dick in the pool.
Yeah.
I'm 16. I'm distraught. I'm destroyed. I don't know what to think, because this is your boyfriend. You have a kid with him.
Why would you do that? I'm so confused.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So then like an hour later, my dick's in your mouth.
Yeah.
But now, I can never trust a woman. I'm destroyed. I'm looking at every bitch like, yeah, you're gonna go to Jamaica. And
Listen, men are fucking sneaky, shady when it comes to sexuality. We're the worst.
Yeah.
Women ain't that far off. They're not that far behind us.
No.
They're not that far behind us.
They're like what does it say? Like a dog bite you, he won't look in your eyes. But a snake, he'll bite you, he'll look you right in the eyes. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that broke my heart. I was heartbroken for him. So like, you know, I could never mess with a chick who has a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a man, like, no, be with him. Don't do that. Like, you want me to like be your relationship therapist? Like, let's talk about your relationship and how things can be better. We're not about to do that. I felt so bad, man.
It's so weird that she would do that. You know what I mean? I'm sure I've been with girls with boyfriends or husbands or whatever, but I never got that story. I never knew that till after. You know what I mean?
But why
She
would you
did it,
show me?
Right. That's where it's like I don't know if I could go through it either. That's a mind fuck. You know what I mean?
I was so messed up.
Yeah.
So now when like girls be like, oh, my man's on my Instagram, I'm like, doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean shit. You're still gonna bang another
Right.
dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you even identify loyalty? So obviously loyalty has to exist outside the bedroom.
Yep.
Right? When I call you when I'm in jail, you're gonna come bail
Correct.
me out. That's the type of loyalty I need.
Yeah.
If we out to eat,
You don't know who
is your
somebody
head on the
is.
swivel.
Right.
That's the type of loyalty
Yeah.
I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
You have to strive through some adversity before you know what kind of partner you have. You know what I mean? You really do. You know.
Yeah.
So and I'll admit this: the older I get, like we all want the chase, right? We all want like a smoking hot chick or whatever. But the older I get, and that's still important. I'm not saying that's not important because I don't think I'm a slouch. I'm 47. I try to stay in shape, and so I don't want to slouch or someone that doesn't care about. But looks is not as important as it used to be. You know what I mean? It's not as important as it used to be to me. You know? So
Yeah, I agree. I do not pick your woman based upon looks. You will be.
But yes and no. Like I see
No, I
someone
mean-
like say, like you got to be attracted to your lady though.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Listen, I didn't say it doesn't matter. I
Looks
said
can't be the only thing.
I said it doesn't matter as much as it used to. I did not say it doesn't matter. It definitely
No, but I
matters.
seen. So I don't know where I saw it, but someone was like, pick some of your attractors. If you're not attracted to them, you're gonna start to resent that fucking.
Yeah, but
person.
but
You know?
okay, but you're talking about one type of attraction. I'm saying that I can be attracted to somebody's intellect. You know what I mean? The older I get, where I don't think I would have ever
No,
cared about that.
I'm gonna
as,
tell you. I'm gonna tell you what it
I
is.
said I can be.
I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Yeah.
You have to have a similar ideological goals, and I break them down into 3 categories. You have to have the same political philosophy. You have to have the same spiritual philosophy and financial philosophy, right? So if you're someone,
I think
who,
children got to come in there somewhere too. Family, that's got to be a factor because
well,
someone
you
wants
need
kids and
these,
the other one doesn't.
but you need these to understand how the kids are raised.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Because you don't want to be a conservative
Right.
and she's teaching
Oh,
your
yeah.
son how to be a liberal.
Correct.
These are ideals for the kids, right?
Yep.
Because the woman's really the one who's going to give them ideas because they're hanging on mommy all day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, for example,
I
if
might have got that one wrong, but anyway, go ahead.
we all have, trust me. But yeah, you want to find out, what this comes back to knowing your own shit. Do you know your political philosophy? Do you know where you want to be financially? Because if you want to be, a 6-figure guy, but she wants $1 billion lifestyle,
Right.
you got to know that,
Right.
But if you want $1 million lifestyle and she wants a $50,000 lifestyle, you got to manage that, right? What is her political philosophy? Is she voting for Biden or is she voting for Trump? Because if you vote for Trump, she voting for Biden, you got the wrong woman. You see what I'm saying? So it's not really about attraction.
There's a million micro arguments built into just those 3 things.
Just those 3 things.
Yeah.
So those are the questions you really want to ask women: who you voting for, how you spending your money,
Yep.
and how do you talk to God?
Yep.
If we can align on those 3 things,
Most things
Could
are small.
you put an order of those if you had to?
Yes.
In your opinion, in Hotep's opinion.
we gonna start with spiritual philosophy first.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
We going because of today, we going political first. Then we gonna get to the money.
There you go.
The money, I would have said money first, but the way you going today, we
Yeah,
going
yeah,
who you voting for, motherfucker?
Right.
Well, that's what's crazy is I've been with my wife for a long time and we just line up on all those things.
On all those things.
And without even thinking about it.
Right.
And honestly, a lot of my friends, I was a political science major in college, but I didn't, I went to school to wrestle. That's what I did.
Yeah.
So I didn't pay attention to anything. Now, in the last 2-3 years, obviously paying attention to politics, I realized most of my friends are like-minded individuals, and we never even spoke about it. So it's kind of funny how that works.
Renee, Frankie's wife, I would love to, she gets a little shy, but I would love to get her on the podcast. She is very, very well read. She's read the Quran, the Bible, all reason. She believes we're very much, I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but we're very much in a good versus evil time, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'd love to get her down here and just jam, like if he was away or whatever, just jam with Renee, but she won't do it, but it would be cool. Very intelligent person.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, like relationships are learned, right? Like you learn each other. Right? I like this about you. I don't like that about you. Let's fix it. But it's about communication.
Oh, yeah.
So you're never going to meet somebody and be like, "Oh, I'm in love with her and it's perfect." No, this just not fucking real. It's fucking bullshit. You got to learn each other, right?
Yeah.
You got to learn your little idiosyncrasies. You know, what time do you like to do shit? What time? Those things you work out. But the core relationship is them three things.
Yep.
Because that's where all your arguments are going to stem from. How are we spending our money? How are we talking to God? And who are we voting for? Right? Because and it ties into that is health too, right? Because if you with the jab and I'm with the jab and you jabbing my kids up, now I got a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So health is also another aspect, right? So you got to understand those four things. As far as like I'm attracted to her personality, you know. I could be attracted to your personality, but if you over here voting for Biden, you got to go. You know what I mean? I could be attracted to your booty, you got to go. Or you got to conform.
West African, East African, don't matter. It don't matter.
It don't matter. You got to go. You know, so that's what it comes down to. Attraction fades. You know what I mean? Like, I done had the baddest chicks. After 3 months, she wasn't the baddest chick no more.
True.
Somewhere, someplace, someone's tired of her shit.
He said that to me. You said that to me a long time ago. We were out to dinner back when I was married, so obviously it didn't sink in very well. But anyway, and you said that to me, and I was like, you know what? That's fucking right. Because you can see, you know, we're all of us, I guess, are in relationships, and if you're not, you will be at some point in time, and you might see, and this goes for both sexes, but I'm just speaking for me, a gorgeous girl walk by. And like you can't deny physical attraction. None of us can, right? It's just ingrained, especially us as men, you know, we're like breeders, right? So, and he said to me one time, that happened, you know, we're out to dinner and I think the girl's in the bathroom and he's like, yo, there's a man out there somewhere tired of her shit. And I was like, that just fucking sums it up right there, you know what I mean?
And the last piece is the bedroom.
Yep.
Like, after you've been with a chick, you know, for 10 years, she know how to make you nut in 5 minutes, you know how to make her nut in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So the bedroom ain't even a situation if that's, you know, that stuff can be fixed over time. You know what I mean? More so for the woman and less the man. Like the man, you kind of got to have a couple of skills because she ain't going to be patient for too long. You know what I'm saying? But after you've been together for 10 years, y'all know how to just turn each other wrong like that. Like, you know, you kind of comfortable in that realm. So don't even choose it based upon the bedroom if you're a man because you could teach her how to, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep,
You're
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Sound advice. Yep. I think the three of us being older have kind of surmised that by now, but that's great advice for, you know, and I think you're kind of speaking to, you know, and what you were talking about with like, you know, being out at the club and drinking or whatever and all that. That parlays to that younger crowd. And that's definitely Frankie's audience. You know what I mean? Like he's got a lot of young up and coming, you know, young men that follow him and love his career and stuff. So that's great advice. You know?
Yeah. Be the one to tell her when she's too done. Like, yo, babe, you know, even if it's first date, you just met at the bar, like, you sure you didn't have too many?
Yeah.
Be that guy.
Right.
She is going to melt.
Yeah, agreed.
Because usually the guy is saying have one more.
Yeah.
So when you say, yo, I think you should have a glass of water, she's going to be like, I want to come home with you. You're giving me daddy vibes.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
I'm calling you Zaddy tonight. You know, she's going to tell her friends, listen, I'm good. I'm going home with him tonight. Right? But again, this is rooted in law of compensation, wanting the best for people.
Right.
When you want the best for people, the best happens to you.
Yeah.
Man.
I believe that. You really box yourself in if you think anything but that. You really do. You box yourself in and who you can be around, who you can talk to, who you can hang out with, and so
enjoy life,
right.
man. You know, you going on vacation with the homies. Don't think about the coochie. Think about I want to have memories with the homies. I want to have fun. And you know, one time I was in Miami. This is when I was broke. I had no money. I went to Miami for 4 days with $100 in my pocket. Okay. and we were performing on stage, and I ended up running into these investors, and they liked me. They wanted to invest in our music, and I said, y'all got nowhere to stay. Can I crash at y'all hotel tonight? I'll go get you some girls. They're like, for real? Dudes with money that don't know how to pick up girls.
Yeah.
Dog. We was just driving down the street. I was like, yo, stop right there. Hopped out. Da-da-da-da, we got the penthouse. Da-da-da-da-da. They was up there skinny dipping with 2 blonde chicks from Sweden or some damn where. I was passed out on the couch because I've been performing. I missed the whole fun. But law of compensation. You gave me, let me replace that and give you something. Those dudes loved me.
Kind of counterintuitive to your first argument though about treating girls good. You just totally pimped some chicks out on the street. You were literally a pimp.
Time and place. Time and place.
But you had to do what you had to do.
I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
But I got game. Like, I know how to talk to chicks. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, listen, yo, y'all want to party? Like,
right.
And these dudes are really cool. They were like Native Americans.
Free will at the end of the day.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't have did it if these guys were complete creeps.
Right.
But these guys were like straight up geeks off the fucking
probably best night of their life. They're probably still talking about it.
Dog.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
The next day they were like, bro, we had so much fun last night. You missed it. I'm like, yo, I was passed out on the couch. I wish I was there with y'all. But they've never hung out with hot girls before.
Yeah.
And they were in the pool hanging out, and the girls had a good time. Everybody went home and it was a good time,
Win-win.
right? It was a win-win, right?
You wanted a comfortable bed. They wanted to hang out with some pretty girls. It worked.
Everybody wanted, and the girls wanted to be in the penthouse suite because these guys had money.
Not?
They wanted to be in the penthouse suite. So you had a wish. They had a wish. I had a wish.
Yep.
Law of compensation. Everybody got what they want. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
And they weren't the type of guys that wanted to get laid. They just wanted to be around women.
Yeah.
And they
That was a photo op is what that was.
And they didn't even ask me. I offered.
Yeah.
I said, listen, you guys got this penthouse suite. I'm going to pack it with chicks for you tonight. So you guys can have a good time. You can have a party. And they're like, for real?
For real?
Yeah, I got you. And I talked to some chicks and and they had a good time, you know? So that goes back to the law of conversation. But again, like, I didn't have no money in my pocket. I needed somewhere to stay. They looked me out. I got to look them out. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you gotta want to be a good person in this world, man, and really want to give to people, you know, and everything works out. That's how I live my life.
That's a good way to live it.
One more thing, digging through my notes here for you, Hotep. One more thing, and then we'll wrap this up because how long have we been going, Andrew? We've been going a while here.
2.5.
Yeah, great interview. I could sit here 4 hours, but I got to pee. So
How much?
Over 2.5.
have we?
Yeah.
Tell me the exact number.
I mean, it says 3 hours, but we didn't start right away. I was
Okay.
The concept of fail fast. Something else I saw you talk about, and I was like, geez, I can definitely relate to some of these things that he says. You want to just kind of touch on that for a little bit, and then we can wrap?
Where should we start? All right, let's start with me, right? Hotep Nation. When Hotep Nation starts, we don't have a logo. We don't have a website. We have nothing. So I just took the Helvetica font and wrote Hotep Nation. That's our logo. Done. Let's just go, right? In business, sometimes you just have to just go. You just have to just
fake
start.
it till you make it.
I don't like using that term.
Okay.
Because you're not faking it.
Yeah.
You know, it's starting, right? Like, it's just beginning the process.
Yeah.
Right? Because what people want to do is, for example, let's say you want to start a podcast. I was consulting this lady once, and she says, she joins my classroom. I used to have a class every Saturday. She joins my class. She said, I'm going to have a podcast. I'm like, great. When's your first episode? She goes, well, I have to get a camera. I have to get lights. I'm like, no, your first episode's today. You're going to grab your phone, and you're going to talk about whatever it is, and you're going to start today. She's like, but I'm like, let me ask you a question. How many followers do you have on your YouTube account? None. So who's going to listen to it? Nobody. So why does it matter?
Right.
Nobody's going to listen to episode 1.
Yeah.
But you know what's going to happen? When you reach episode 500, people are going to go back to episode 1 and they're going to be inspired by episode 1.
Right.
People say that to me now. They're like, yo, I went back to watch episode 1 of Hotep's Been Told You. You guys were like winging it with like, you know, off the cell phone on Google Hangouts, right? People appreciate seeing the journey,
Yep.
seeing
They
the
do.
progression. They love that
I do.
shit.
I enjoy that. Yeah.
Even with Joe Rogan, you see how he
Sure.
first
Yeah.
started
Yep.
to now. That
Yeah.
progression immerses you in the brand.
Yep.
I believe that wanting to come out the box perfect is an excuse to procrastinate,
Sure.
right? So that's why I say fail fast. You come out the gate, and really what happens is that's how you get your education in business, right? So with me, people say I have great business acumen. Well, it's because I've been in so many businesses and started so many businesses when I was younger that I know what it takes to start it up and build a website and all these different things, right? So I'm probably more further advanced, but it's because, like, for example, I remember I was in college and dude asked me, how'd you get a record label? I'm like, I just started one. I didn't file no paperwork. I didn't have a bank account. I just went straight to Kinko's and printed out business cards.
I love it.
And now I have a record label. Nothing behind it. No paperwork,
I
no
love
contracts. I have a record label. Let's go to the studio. Let's record. Let's go. Right? Just go.
Yeah.
And then after you blow $10K in studio costs, you start to realize, wait, all right, we should probably do this different, that different. And you learn along the way.
Yep.
So now when I speak to music artists and they need consultation, because I failed fast, they get to reap the benefits of that. But I tell them, go out there and just start, right? That's what fail fast means. It just means just start.
Yeah.
Because
It was about procrastination,
You're
essentially,
gonna-
right?
yeah,
The
you
example you gave on your Instagram that I saw was, if you tell yourself, I'm going to start this on Monday, and then Monday comes and you find out whatever task or job it is at hand that you're doing, there's a part you need, and that part doesn't come in until Friday. Well, now that job that you just put off until Monday doesn't happen until the next Monday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I'm guilty of that. I've done that plenty of times, So yeah.
Yeah. So your life is on a path, right? It's like a stream, okay? And God is right behind you, okay? When you procrastinate, you stop, and God goes, all right, I'll be right back. When you start again, I'll be back. So you stop your own stream of progression every time you procrastinate. But when you're going and you're just going and going and going, God is right there pushing you, feeding you, adding coal to your steamship, and you're just going. And the more you go, the more coal he gives you, she gives you, right? God got titties in my world. I'm not dying. I don't want to see dick and balls when I die. God is on me. When I die, I want to see big, beautiful Nigerian titties. But my point is, there is a stream that everybody is in, and it's flowing and it's going in your favor. And procrastination sort of sets you off to the side and delays everything. So that pot of gold that was there is now further down the stream because the stream has taken it. Whereas you would have caught up to that pot of gold if you would have just stayed in the stream. I view it like water, like merrily, 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 roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. Life is a dream when you rowing your boat.
Yeah.
Once you stop, you getting out and things aren't happening for you anymore. So procrastination tells God you not ready for her gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination tells God, don't give me no blessings.
Right.
That's what procrastination is saying.
Yep.
So I always try to avoid procrastination with the do now philosophy. The more procrastination sets in, the more I want to do now.
A man who procrastinated in his choosing will inevitably have his choice made for him. Hunter Thompson said that, and that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. I lost so much money from procrastinating. And then once you get in that flow, life just happens for you. You can't control it. Like when I used to do cold calling, right? You're doing a cold calling, and no deals come from the cold calling. And then all of a sudden somebody calls you from just a referral, but because you've done so many cold calls, because you've been on the phone with so many people, that when that person came, you were ready for it.
Right.
But had you not did all those cold calls, you wouldn't have closed that one.
Good point.
You know, and that's just come from sales.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep going, man.
I always say that too. You know, I trained wrestling my whole life. I trained how to, you know, in that process, to learn how to work out, learn how to build my body, learn how to suffer and all this. And I never knew MMA was going to be my career because it wasn't even a thing when I was in college.
Right.
And learning all those skills, not stopping, not getting off the boat, got me ready for fighting, you know? So, yeah. That's
Imagine
powerful.
somebody said, hey, you want to learn how to wrestle? Yeah, read this book.
Yeah, right.
What?
Yeah.
No, get on the mat, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fell fast. When you get pinned and
That's it, yeah.
or body slam, whatever. Yeah.
No, I enjoy following you, man. There's some great lessons on there, you know, and you have a delivery that really is you're good at it. So
Thank you.
Yeah, man, definitely good talking to you. You know, we'll definitely love that.
Hey, man,
you're a
welcome
Jersey
on
guy, man.
Yeah,
Come
you're
back.
welcome on this couch.
I'm gonna be back.
Yeah.
And when I see Frankie Edgar hit me, I was like, oh shit, Frankie Edgar, MMA, the champ. Oh shit,
yeah,
I'm out. It's on.
Well,
You know what I mean?
don't forget about the Tramp over here.
Yeah.
But you ain't got no belts, man.
Sure. Yeah.
But nah,
technically have none.
I'm a big fan.
No,
man. I
bro,
appreciate
pleasure, man.
you.
Thank you for coming. Definitely fan of you. We gotta have you sign the board too.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
And then we'll get a little.
While you're
Put a
signing
little
the
something in the air.
while you're signing the board, I'm gonna go take a leak. But I think we got it out there, right? Where people can find you.
Hotepjesus.com and go get my Noah Tropics trymasterfocus.com.
Absolutely.
It's the best shit on the market.
Yes. Screw that alpha brain. Get the.
I won't say that. I won't say
All right.
that.
Awesome.